Chapter 25 discussions were everywhere and everyone was focused on Evan Clark, Victoria Parker, Hannah Berry, and Nyla Reed. Each of the three big sects had their own representatives, and these four disciples were the most obvious ones. If nothing special happened, then the top 4 spots would go to these 4 disciples. Michael roughly counted the youngsters on the arena. Each of the 3 sects had nearly 200 disciples, while youngsters standing on the others' passage had less, with about 100 to 130 of them. Although Bredia was a small kingdom on the Elan continent, it was still a huge and diverse land, with prodigies and geniuses everywhere. In each of these big sects, there were more than 5,000 disciples, and most of them were outer circle disciples at the foundation stage or early body refining stage. Of those who came to participate in this event, many of them were only here to gain experience and to test their abilities and strength. The rate of elimination was just too high in this competition. As a competition with more than 700 participants, only 24 of them were allowed to advance to the second round. All the participants are required to come to the center in 5 minutes. A loud voice of a woman reverberated in the stadium while all the disciples from the big sects and the youngsters from the other passage had already walked towards the center of the square without waiting for 5 minutes. "Teacher, what do we do?" One of the Sunrise sect girls shivered and looked at Claire as the elder beside Mark exhaled deeply. "Rian is not coming, sect leader Claire. We should leave this place now. That would at least give us some dignity rather than ridiculed by the other sects." Hearing him, Elder Sandra wiped off her tears and tried to let out a smile. "Elder Miles is right, sect leader Claire. There's nothing we can do anymore. Let's leave this place and pack our things. I should distribute the remaining books and herbs to the children Before she could finish her sentence, her throat tightened and tears welled up in her eyes. "You don't have to." Only now Elder Sandra noticed the black-robed youth standing with them when she heard his voice. "What if I participate in the competition and donate my winnings to your sect?" Everyone was dumbfounded and Claire was clearly in shock. The elders thought he was saying this looking at their dire situation and the goodness in his heart. "Young man, it's kind of you to say this, but we can't put our burden on your shoulder, especially since you're an outsider." These people seemed extremely nice and friendly among the cultivators that he had met. Now he knew where Rian's kindness came from. He was taught by good people like them. "Then I'll join your sect. Don't take this the wrong way, but you seem to have nothing to lose by letting me join. If I win, we'll get resources to keep the sect alive." Michael did not beat around the bush but directly pointed out their situation and made a valid point as the elders became speechless for a moment. Why do you want to help us?" Claire asked him. "Because I want to." "Now don't go anywhere and trust me to win this thing." Before anyone could speak anything, he started to walk towards the center, leaving them stunned. Claire and the elders didn't see any deception or bad intent in his eyes but the initiative to help them. She was affected by this stranger's sincerity in wanting to help them even though he had just met them. This touched her to a certain degree while she was looking at the youth walking towards the center. "Well, he's right, we have nothing to lose," and looking at his cultivation level, he will join us sooner than he thinks. When he reached the center, the war drums were beaten again. Boom, boom, boom. The beating of war drums was getting more rapid. Many people were holding their breath. They all knew that 3 core formation cultivators were about to appear on top of Heaven's Gate stairway and release their soul pressure. And just at that moment, 4 figures flew in like meteors from 4 different directions and landed on top of the stairway. When the crowd saw their faces, they were startled with their mouths wide open. Because these 4 people were not like those from the previous year. Last year they were all just teachers from the 3 big sections. But now, the 3 people on top of the stairway were 3 young men and a woman, and they were all young. It's her, Selena, the youngest to reach the body-strengthening stage and also the youngest core disciple of the Morning Star sect. Damn, aren't these the top 4 of the competition 2 years ago? Selena from the Morning Star, Adam Kane from the Golden Valley, Sadie Kaplan from the Silver Moon. Oh my god. Alex Fisher the Morning Star is here. Wow, it's the Alex Fisher who took the first place 2 years ago. He is so young and he really is a rare genius. Being able to see these prodigies with my own eyes really made the trip here worth it. I think they are going to be the ones assessing the competition this year. Teachers, what do we do now? Are we going to trust that stranger and wait for him? I have a weird feeling about him. Let's see what he can do. Even though his cultivation level was low, Elder Mark sensed a powerful aura around him and wanted to know whether he's right or wrong. Human. Let's get the F***K out of here. Now. Just when he was about to join the crowd, Gaia shouted in his mind and her voice was full of panic. Shit. Michael realized why she was screaming as he noticed the girl on the top of the stair. She was the girl who tried to kill him for no reason at the waterfalls. Fortunately, she didn't notice him in the crowd, but he cursed his luck. I can't back out now. I'm pretty sure the system would reduce my points and do something crazy. With the arrival of the 4 celebrity disciples, the atmosphere immediately turned intense. Everyone was expecting to see the teachers of the big sects arrive, but they never had expected to see these celebrities of the younger generation here today. Michael also couldn't stop but stare at the 4 youngsters on the top as the aura around them was really remarkable and powerful. At this point, his mind accustomed to seeing angelic beauties as Sadie Kaplan was one of them. Adam Kane from the Golden Valley on the other hand could be considered normal compared to Selena and the youngster standing beside her. He was wearing a pearl white fur coat matching his long silver hair that was waving in the wind, and his handsome facial features like male models making him look all-powerful as he unleashed the aura of a superior person. There was also a thin layer of golden light around his body, and compared to him, none of these youngsters seemed extraordinary, even Selena. He must be the boyfriend of that psycho. I should be ready to use my teleportation scroll if these two try anything funny, but what life without a challenge, huh? He thought to himself as his lips curved upward. His hot blood started boiling. At first he came here to inform the Sunrise sect about Rion's demise, but now looking at the crowd and these geniuses, he wanted to show who's the new boss in this kingdom. What if they were rare geniuses? He had the system to aid him, and with the help of the system he decided to beat this competition and earn a sweet amount of badass points. Thinking about the badass points, his fighting spirit ignited and adrenaline started to pump up. Alex Fisher and Selena stood in the middle of the stairway on the top, like the leaders of this group. He casually raised his hand, then the beating of the war drums immediately stopped. I won't waste my time by explaining this round. As usual, we only need the top 24. I will announce the prizes for the winners later. He coolly said as if he was a king giving out an order, radiating an aura of a ruler. Chapter 26. Where Michael was standing, all the youngsters of the big sects were getting ready. They all looked pumped up and ready to take on the world, as their eyes were radiating fierce looks. It didn't require a genius to figure out the relationship between these 3 sects were not friendly. Especially the relationship between the Morning Star and the Golden Valley seemed worse. By looking at the way Evan Clark and Victoria Parker glaring at each other revealed the enmity between them. Therefore, like the sheep following their shepherd, the disciples from both sects had started to engage in a verbal war. Not long ago, in the competition among the 3 sects, Alex Fisher defeated Adam Kane of Golden Valley within 5 attacks and pissed off many Golden Valley disciples. Now they were looking forward to Victoria Parker to defeat Evan Clark and wipe the shame away to an extent. So the second round of the competition would definitely become even more intense. On the bottom of the stairway, the disciples of the sects as well as the other youngsters were looking at the 4 persons standing at the top, their eyes filled with envy, while many boys were drooling looking at the hot girls on the top. Senior Alex and Miss Selena are the definition of a perfect couple. Look at their demeanor and aura around them. Only if I could have a girlfriend like her, sigh, and a boyfriend like Senior Alex. Hey, look, the Golden Valley dogs drooling at the Morning Stars. Shut the F***K up, you scoundrels. If it wasn't for our Senior Adam being sick that day, he would have kicked your senior's ass and sent him back to where he came from. How dare you disrespect our Senior Alex? Let's wait until our Evan Clark meet your little Miss Victoria in the battleground, then we'll see who kicks whose ass. Obviously Sister Victoria gonna kick his ass. Hey darling, I'll visit your Silvermoon Palace later. What the F***K, dude? The scene immediately became very intense. It looked like they were about to start attacking each other. The calmest person on the scene was Michael. Although he was irritated about Selena's presence, he didn't give a shit about the enmity among these celebrity disciples. As far as he was concerned, he's here to earn badass points and help the Sunrise sect in the process, so he could get a secluded place to break through. He was born narcissistic, and how could he admire these disciples? Begin, Alex said calmly, but his voice was enhanced with arch energy to be extremely loud, signaling the start of the first round. Nearly 700 youngsters instantly started running up the stairway. The stairway was extremely wide and looked like even if there were more than 1,000 people on it at the same time, it wouldn't feel crowded. There were a total of 100 stone steps on Heaven's Gate stairway, and each step was at least half a meter tall. It seemed like any commoner could easily climb such stairways, let alone cultivators like themselves. In their eyes it was nothing. Some of them were even jumping forward like rabbits after hearing Alex's words. It was very funny looking at them as Michael chuckled inside. Human, what are you doing? If she sees you, she would go berserk again. Ignoring Gaia's shout, he stepped onto the first step, the second, the third. And just when he stepped onto the 8th step, he felt a slight pressure. More and more people started to pass him, leaving behind. What the? Am I that weak? He saw the others climbing the stairs easily without dropping a sweat. It seems he's going to be last, one of the disciples of the Sunrise sect said looking at Michael on the stairs. A bunch of steps above Michael, the youngsters who went past him started to slow down, feeling the pressure created by the three-core formation cultivators. Unlike the teachers who came to assess the competition 2 years ago, these three were no ordinary cultivators but geniuses and prodigies of this young generation. Each of them was extremely talented and powerful, and the soul pressure created by them was no joke, and this made this year's competition toughest. The higher the steps they climbed, the more pressure they felt. Human, you're embarrassing yourself, come on, cast your weird spell and disappear. Gaia couldn't bear to look at those ridiculing eyes of the crowd. System, by the energy devourer and activate it. Ding. The host has successfully acquired the level 1 energy devover. Activating the energy devover, loading 120. 119. 118. Shit, I need to wait 2 minutes? He exited the system and turned his hand around to see there's no one behind him, as he was the last guy standing on the 5th step. As long as you manage to enter the top 40, you can choose to become a disciple of any of the sects as you wish. Even though the crowd knew this, right after the words left Sadie Kaplan's mouth, the crowd became restless. What about the top 100? So that last kid could have a chance. I told you, human. Gaia could hear a few mocking words coming in her way, and she couldn't hold her anger anymore. Michael tried to pay no mind to these comments, but still, he became slightly irritated since he had done nothing like bragging or anything. Surprisingly, even some of the disciples who were above him started to follow the crowd by mocking him. They tried to relax their mind a bit by making fun of him. Look at that weakling, I bet he can't go more than 20 steps. 20 steps? Look at him, where is he standing? He's stuck at the 5th step, for God's sake. I'm sure that he wouldn't even cross the 10th step. The scornful remarks were getting more and more intense while he was waiting for the system to activate the spell. 30. 29. 28. Good thing he isn't wearing our sect name, Elder Miles sighed, looking at the young man standing last with eyes closed. Humph, but suddenly he opened his eyes and snickered at the disciples above him. Brushing his shoulder-length black hair behind, he began to walk towards them step by step. Teachers, he's moving. While the disciples of the sects were sweating and trying their hardest to climb forward, he was calm and had a smile on his face. Experience points converted 2,000. Experience points converted 3,000. Experience points converted 4,000. The legendary spell devoured the soul pressure and converted it to experience points as the invisible force he had felt a moment ago now disappeared. In a few seconds he reached the 10th step and looked at the girls who made fun of him before. The 2 girls were only a couple of steps above him, and seeing him walking calmly towards them, they were utterly shocked. Middle finger, bitches. He simply showed his middle finger to both of the girls and walked past them as their faces turned red like beet in anger. However, they couldn't do anything as they were trying their best not to fall down due to soul pressure. How dare he? Shut up, they deserved it, arrogant bastard. Some of the crowd noticed what just happened at the 13th step and began to argue as Michael calmly climbed the stairs. Human, were you playing with me a moment ago? Gaia asked, looking at him moving higher step by step without stopping. Once many of them reached the 20th step, the pressure almost doubled and started weighing down on them. Each of them felt they were being crushed by a little invincible mountain. The knees started to bend as sweat wetted their shirts and trousers. The higher they climbed, the bigger the pressure, and many of them stopped moving. I don't think I can move any further than this, the pressure is too strong, I can even feel my soul trembling. Yeah, me too, some of them sighed and said while wiping their sweat away. At the 20th step, most of them who were standing were body refining stage level 4, but when they saw Michael, who was only a body refining stage level 1, calmly walking past them, their mouths and eyes widened in shock. Huh. From the 20th step to the 30th steps, only 100 or so youngsters were standing tall compared to the starting 700 people. Among this 100, the geniuses like Evan Clark and Victoria Parker had already reached the 30th step and still looked calm and relaxed, while many beside them looked exhausted. Elder Sandra, how is he climbing with his level of cultivation? Sect leader Claire opened her mouth wide looking at him and asked Elder Sandra. I don't know, it shouldn't be possible. Chapter 27. Every single one of them was climbing with all their strength. Even if they couldn't be amongst the top 40 disciples, they didn't want to become a laughingstock by falling down. Especially now that every single disciple from the big sects and their families were here. In a prestigious and famous competition like this, losing to their fellow disciples of the same sect was nothing to be ashamed of, yet losing to someone from the other sect was nothing but disgraceful. Look at your pathetic faces, you all should have stayed in your dorm rooms in the first place. a disciple from the Morning Star who didn't participate in the competition shouted at the Golden Valley disciples as his fellow disciples laughed out loud and ridiculed them. At least we are in this competition, not like those cowards who didn't have the guts to participate, the Golden Valley disciples shouted back. We prefer to be here rather than participate and bring shame to our sect, unlike you scumbags, hee hee. Hey, don't spit such nasty words in front of the girls. Hey girl, I'm not like them, what the F*** K dude? Hey girl, yeah, you from the Silver Moon, don't talk with those Morning Star scumbags, they have skin disease. The stairway was in an uproar and there was no shortage of entertainment for the crowd to enjoy. Many of the disciples were cursing each other and showing all kinds of signs using their hands. Fortunately, fighting on the steps was prohibited or this place would have already become a battleground. But that didn't stop them from abusing each other using words, and some of them took the cursing game a step ahead and scolded their dead ancestors. However, all of them froze and shut their mouth when they noticed a black-robed youth calmly walking past them. The Silver Moon girls almost stood there with a slightly open mouth in shock and wanted him to look at them despite this current situation. Who the F*** K is he? Is he from our sect? No, and look at his black robes, he doesn't belong to any sect. Inside Michael's head, the system was rewarding him with badass points and converting the soul pressure into experience points. He was extremely happy as he tried his best not to laugh in joy. Oh my god. He's only 15 steps away from reaching Evan and Victoria. The disciples of the Sunrise sect felt their heartbeats rising and prayed to their gods that he honor his words. They doubted Rian, their best disciple, would have reached this level as he was making climbing the steps so easy and effortless. Human, it's not a shame to rest a bit. Rest? This is like a walk in the park to me. You're an arrogant F***, Kurt, do you know that? While Michael was calmly walking towards the top, Evan Clark, Victoria Parker, Hannah Berry, and Nyla Reed had already reached the 45th step, and by the time they reached the 50th step, the previous calmness on their face and demeanor started to change. Their climbing speed dropped considerably as the pressure they were feeling increased significantly. Look, it's the ghost. Just when Michael stepped on the 40th step and stood alone, someone from the crowd shouted. You mean the ghost who destroyed the Blood and Bone sect? Yes. He's the ghost from Rivertown. The moment the crowd heard this, all of their gazes left the celebrity disciples and landed on Michael as the system continuously awarded him badass points. Not only the crowd, but the celebrity disciples also stopped the discussion among them and looked at the one the crowd calling ghost. His face still carried a warm smile as he walked towards the top, like the soul pressure they were creating was nothing but a gentle breeze. Shit, we are F*** Ked, Gaia sighed as Selena gritted her teeth remembering the incident that happened at the waterfalls. How the F*** K, he killed an entire sect with his cultivation level? You moron. Can a normal body refining stage level 1 cultivation reach the 45th step? The people who initially mocked for no reason felt a cold chill running through their spine. News travels fast. He was glad that someone from the river town came here and recognized him. On Earth, he made sure that no one recognizes him, but here, the more people recognized, the more badass points he got from the system. I never expected that this young man is the famous ghost of Rivertown. It looks like he isn't a normal youngster after all. Elder Mark let out a small smile and sighed. Looking at a youth who was younger than them climbing higher and higher, most of the disciples started to crawl towards the top using their both hands and feet like a baby. However, Michael still looked calm and step by step reached the 50th step and stood only 10 steps away from the 4 celebrity disciples. Who is he? Where did he come from? Hannah Berry and Nyla Reed were gawking at them as they tried to climb forward using all their strength. Pervert, Selena's heart was trembling in anger, but she couldn't show it in front of Alex. If Alex had done something to him because of her, both of them would be punished by the sect for disrespecting the competition, so she could only swallow her anger and watch him show off. 4 of them, including Evan Clark, tried their best to move forward. Each of them took pride in being the best among their generation and didn't want to lose to an outsider like him. Unfortunately for them, the pressure on the 60th step was just too strong, and they knew that they were at their limits. So at this point, they could only watch him calmly take 1 step at a time and hope that he wouldn't reach the 60th step. Human, the pressure on the higher steps will be too strong. Stop here, you have already reached the top 10. Michael could sense the nervousness in her voice, but he was not in the mood to quit now, especially since the experience points and badass points were raining down on him like crazy. Is he going to reach the 60th step? If he did, the sects would go crazy to recruit him. Elder Mark, do you think he would still want to join our sect? Claire knew that at this point, the 3 big sects would give him an abundant amount of resources and ask him to join their sect. They even didn't have a suitable dorm room for a talented youngster like him, let alone the resources for his cultivation. The people of River Town said that he destroyed the Blood and Bone sect because they massacred a village full of commoners. It might sound illogical, but I have a feeling that he will honor his words, then the sun will really rise in our sect. Do you think he's single? Look at him, bitch, handsome guy like him wouldn't be single. I bet he has a bunch of girlfriends. The female disciples, including the ones in the three big sects, couldn't help but admire him. The Silver Moon disciples looked at him like they were going to eat him alive while he reached the 59th step and stood just a step away from the four celebrity disciples. Using their last bit of strength, Evan Clark and Victoria Parker took another step and reached the 61st step, leaving Hannah and Nyla behind. He reached it, oh my god. The crowd became restless when they saw him standing beside Hannah Berry and Nyla Reed. And in a blink of an eye, he took another step and arrived beside Evan Clark and Victoria Parker. Who are you? Evan Clark was exhausted as he asked him breathlessly. He still looked calm, like he was immune to the pressure, and for the first time in his life, Evan felt inferior to someone of his age. At first, when he heard about the destruction of the Blood and Bone sect and the ghost who did that, he didn't pay much attention because, with the right plan and spells, anyone could accomplish that feat. However, he had never thought that he would be this powerful and talented, especially considering his cultivation level. A nobody couldn't reach this far, and looking at his calm face, he couldn't help but admire and respect him. Didn't you hear? Him called Ghost. He gently patted Evan on the shoulder and continued to step forward towards the top. How could this be possible? Victoria and Evan's eyes were wide open, and their face was full of disbelief. He's only at the level 1 body refining stage. How is he resisting the pressure? He doesn't belong to any sects, but he managed to surpass us. The three girls were startled and watching his back as he continued to move forward towards the top. He must have used some pill to resist the soul pressure. With weak cultivation level, I can simply blast him away with one spell if we met on the battleground, Victoria calmly said, as the three of them could feel the arrogance in her voice, but they also couldn't disagree with her. There wouldn't be much of a fight between her, a body refining stage level 8 cultivator, and the ghost, who was only a level 1 body refining stage cultivator. All of them were thinking that he must have used some kind of tactic to kill Ralphie and refused to believe that he could defeat Ralphie fair and square. Chapter 28. Look, the ghost is number 1 now. He really surpassed Evan Clark and Victoria Parker, and he is still climbing towards the top. Holy shit, am I dreaming? How could he surpass those prodigies? 2 years ago there was a mysterious girl, now we have him, and just like her, he's also not from any of the big sects. Many people were shouting in surprise as Michael had become the center of attention. Who would have thought someone would appear out of the blue and surpass the celebrity disciples? Where did this young freak come from? How could he be so strong? Look at him, he must be using some kind of pill or potion. If he wasn't, it would be impossible to be so calm and relaxed. It's still not over yet. Evan Clark and Victoria Parker will catch up soon. The disciples of the sects gloomily stared at him while some of them tried comforting themselves by hoping that their breathless seniors, Evan Clark and Victoria Parker, would move again and surpass him before he breaks the existing record by reaching the 70th step. When Michael stepped on the 67th step, he was still looking cool and calm. Is this freak going to break the record? Gaia was thinking to herself as he reached the 68th step and broke Selena's record. Oh my god. He broke Miss Selena's record and only 2 steps away from the all-time record. What a freak. On top of the stairway, Alex Fisher's and the other three's expressions changed as well. Especially Selena's, who had been looking at Michael with a mix of anger and shocked expression on her face. How is he able to reach the 68th step under our pressure? Adam Kane was surprised as his brows raised automatically. Interesting, he is only at body refining level 1, still he managed to reach this far. I guess he has some interesting secrets. Sadie's gesture was alluring and looked at him in a provocative manner. Her sweet gentle voice was enough to touch anyone's heart as her blue eyes stared at Michael from top to bottom. The black robes he wore were nothing like anything she had seen, and it perfectly complemented his charming features and lean body. We should increase the pressure. Why? Adam Kane calmly asked Alex as Sadie answered him. Although I hate to do this to him, Alex is right, we can't let an outsider like him reach the 70th step. Remember what happened 2 years ago when an outsider like him created a record? It brought nothing but shame to our sections. By the look on his face, he would definitely surpass the 70th step if we don't do anything. Since she put it like that, Adam could only agree with them and increase the pressure. The 4 of them were the strongest of the younger generation in the Breedia Kingdom. If they combined their strength to suppress a body refining stage cultivator, it would be impossible for any at the same level as Michael. The other 3 unleashed their soul pressure straight away, and it was mainly focused on Michael. Still, the slight increase in the pressure rendered Evan Clark and Victoria Parker immobile. They were stopped at the 60-second step and could not even move a muscle in their body, while some of the youngsters in the lower stairs were even pushed back by the pressure. System has detected a sudden increase in pressure. Conversion will begin in 15. 14. The system suddenly informed him as he had to stop moving. Looking at him stop moving, Alex's lips curved and put a cold smile on his face. In his heart he snorted coldly, "Trying to reach the top under our soul pressure, huh? Let me see how you take another step." "I think he reached his limit," Elder Sandra stated as the other three elders nodded while Michael was standing there without moving. "Human, they increased the soul pressure and focusing it on you, trying to stop me? Too late, bitches," he snickered, seeing the Synergy Devourer resume to convert the pressure into experience points. Until now he only wanted to reach the top because he wanted to earn as many badass points as he could, but since these three intentionally increased the pressure to stop him, he couldn't wait to reach the top and crush their arrogance. He wouldn't be able to sleep if he surrendered to these three. He was the greatest assassin on earth and his pride and ego were above their arrogance. He stopped at the 68th step. "Such a shame, I really thought he would break the record and create a new 1-inch. It's no shame, you idiot." With his level of cultivation he had already created a new record and proved his prowess. He's moving again. Nobody couldn't remain calm anymore the moment they saw him take a step towards the 69th step. Everyone's vision was on the ghost was only a step away from breaking the record. He brushed his hair back again as it was fluttering in the wind as he smiled at the four of them on the top, but this time his smile was not a warm one, rather it was an arrogant one. What is he doing? He is in the first place now. If he took another step, those three would feel offended? Sect leader Claire said with a puzzled expression. That youngster possesses the aura of someone who stands above all else. He's like the fire where his opponents are like the oil. The more the enemies, the more he blazes through them. Gaia's heart and mind were filled with doubt and shock. Looking at him standing on the 69th step with his low-level cultivation, she couldn't help but start to admire him. Although he was young, he had proved himself a person who is both resourceful and powerful. Every time she thought he couldn't do something, he would prove her wrong and surprise her. Even if he had the special body type, this shouldn't have been possible. There is more to him than what meets the eye. On top of the stairway, the combined pressure from the three big geniuses had doubled and caused strong winds to appear. Many youngsters clinging on their positions were now thrown off from the stairway. "Give me more." The crowd felt goosebumps when the words escaped his mouth as the three of them were startled. More pressure meant more experience points, and after he said these words, the system started to award him with more badass points. He did it. Finally, he took the 70th step as the crowd went crazy and most of them stood from their seats in shock. Behind him, Evan Clark and Victoria Parker looked up at Michael, who was walking forward towards the top. Each step he took created a new record, while the crowds in the square held their breath and stopped uttering any words as they stared at him dumbstruck. Under the gazes of over three geniuses and Selena, he kept moving and reached the 90th. What the 90th step? Oh my god. Everyone gasped for air in shock and looked at the ghost as if they were looking at a real ghost. Is he even human? This is insane. Gaia became speechless and watched him take another step and reach the 91st step. The four of them on the top felt like they were being struck by lightning. The three of them were core formation stage cultivators, and on top of that, Selena was also releasing her soul pressure on him, yet a young body refining stage cultivator was actually able to resist the pressure unleashed by them. They simply couldn't believe it. Under their shocked gazes, he moved again and reached the 95th step. Focus every bit of pressure solely on him. I don't believe he could withstand that, Alex said with a cold tone as the three of them immediately focused all the pressure created by them on him. The four geniuses increased the pressure once again, hoping to throw Michael out of the stairs. If he continued to step up, he would definitely reach the top and stand beside them. Just by doing that, he would shatter their reputation and make them look weak compared to him. He had already brought shame to them by reaching the 96th step, which was something impossible and never had done before. Michael, on the other hand, did not give a shit about their reputation and wanted to reach the top and earn more and more badass points and experience. Humiliating them and the girl who tried to kill him was just icing on the cake. Step by step, he reached the 96th step, 97th, then the 98th, and finally the 99th step. If he took another step forward, he would be standing side by side with the three big geniuses and a small genius. Impossible. Chapter 29. If he took another step and reached the 100th step, it would definitely offend those four. This is exciting, really exciting. I never thought someone from my river town will create a record like this. Various discussions were going all over the stadium about his shocking performance. Heaven's Gate competition had been held for so many years, but no one had ever reached the top of the stairway. And now he's only a one step from creating a long-lasting, unbreakable record. The elders of the Sunrise sect shook their heads and smiled. When they first met them, they had never thought he would be so special and a freak of nature. However, when he was about to reach the 100th step, Selena gave a death stare and spoke in an extremely cold tone. Don't. You already proved your worth, don't let your willfulness ruin your life. Obviously, Alex was threatening him, who was the greatest assassin on Earth. With your level, I will directly make you an inner disciple at the Silver Moon and personally help you in your cultivation. She emphasized the word personally and let out a seductive laugh. Bitch, Gaia simply said. You have a bright future ahead, stay where you are and I will make the same offer as Sadie. Adam smiled at him and calmly said as Alex spoke to him again, but if you dare take one more step, then you should know the consequences of ignoring our advice. Michael didn't like to bully and bullied, but these four were trying to bully him. They just used different tones to make him stay where he is. He calmly smiled and ordered the system to activate the teleportation spell if they tried to attack him. And then he stared back at Alex without a hint of fear on his face. Is there a rule saying I can't reach the 100th step? They were shocked to see his calm and cool demeanor. Normally, youngsters like him shower them with compliments and wouldn't dare to do something they want like. But he not only behaved arrogantly before them but also questioned them in front of all these people. Michael also did not suppress his voice and made sure every single one of them in the crowd heard his question. If they dared to do something against him, there was no doubt that this would bring shame to the sects but also anger the royal family and the king of Bredia. No, but Selena gritted her teeth and tried to say something, but before those words could escape her mouth, he took another step forward and landed on the final 100th step. He was now standing side by side with them. Just as he did that, Alex's face completely changed as a wave of terrifying aura exploded out of his body, and a bone-chilling frost started to appear around his hands. Adam on the other hand was shocked, but he didn't become as angry as Alex. He shook his head and stood beside him. Since there was nothing in the rules that said someone couldn't reach the 100th step, what he did was fair. On the other side, Sadie suddenly let out a weird moan and looked flushed red. These girls from the Silver Moon really started to freak him out with their weird looks and actions. Right now, the crowd who were watching the scene had become very excited. None of them ever thought that someone would break the 70th step record, let alone reaching the 100th and stand alongside the four celebrity disciples. Holy! He really reached the top. We have just witnessed history in making, guys. Where did he come from? What's his real name? Even in the sight of these four bid shots, he didn't back down. He earned my respect. From now on, the whole kingdom would know the name Ghost. But he made a mistake by offending them. Just look at Alex's expression. He looks like he's going to kill him. Offending a big shot like him would never end in a good way. I'm sure the Morning Stars will make his life harder in the next round. Everybody was gossiping and expressing their opinions while the Sunrise sect people started to worry about his safety. You just made a big mistake, human. He didn't pay attention to Gaia's warning as he was looking at the experience points. He now had enough points to reach the body refining stage level 6 and already earned back the badass points he had spent for the Energy Devourer spell. This trip is extremely worth the risk. He knew by taking the last step he would offend Alex, a big shot in this kingdom, but the benefits he received were worth the risk. No one has ever disrespected me the way you just did, Ghost. You will pay for that. He radiated an extreme killing intent that would scare anybody who looked at him. Yet, Michael almost laughed out when he noticed his killing intent towards him being turned into experience points for him. This spell was really legendary and overpowered. By making someone angry, he could now earn experience points with this spell. Since the time he was born, Alex Fisher had been raised with great privileges by one of the most powerful families in Bredia. He was a child really blessed with the god, as he had a great talent for cultivation, wealth, and an attractive body with a handsome face. This consciousness of being born like this had been rooted deep into his mind as ego and pride. Who was this Ghost to disrespect him? A nobody without any background. Thinking about this, he felt incredibly furious and couldn't hold his anger. You crossed your limit. Selena gritted her teeth and said angrily as Michael tilted his head like a puppy and frowned. Who are you again? You really want to die, huh? Alex's expression was getting colder, and his killing intent was getting thicker as Michael's heart was nursing with joy looking at all the experience points. Alex, look around you. This is Heaven's Gate competition, and we're here to assess this competition. Everything you speak or do will represent the Morning Star sect. There's no rule in this competition which states that someone can't reach the top. Are you going to attack him just because he reached the top? Adam quickly interfered before this situation turned ugly. Although by stepping on the 100th step he tarnished their reputation, they still needed to think about their sect before doing anything that would bring shame to their sect. You can tell me what I can do when you defeat me within 5 attacks, Cain. Adam expected this reply, but still, he gritted his teeth in anger. Nevertheless, after Adam's warning, he withdrew his killing intent and decided not to kill him. Because he knew the elders would punish him for disgracing the competition and their sect reputation, and that was the best case scenario. The worst case was this incident reached the ears of the king, and at that point, the king would definitely cripple his cultivation or sentence him to death. "I let you live this time," he said coldly, and flew down to the ground standing on a flying spear with Selena. "Boys," Sade snorted and tapped Michael's shoulder, "my offer is still standing. He'll even recommend the elders to make you a core disciple." "Sorry, miss, I have already decided to join another sect." At this point, the first round of the competition had concluded as many disciples of the sects and youngsters were jumping off of the stairway, but hearing their conversation, they all paused for a moment to hear what sect he had decided to join. Oh. Sadie was surprised, since there's no chance Alex would let him join the Morning Star, and Adam seemed like he's not planning to take him either. Leaving those two sects, there weren't any places that fit for his talent except her sect. Which sect? The Sunrise sect. His answer almost gave the crowd a heart attack. Among all the sects, he picked the worst and declined sect to join. Even if many of these youngsters couldn't get into the big sects, there were still other prestigious sects in the kingdom, but none of them wouldn't even think of joining the Sunrise sect. Sadie had a weird expression on her face, as many people thought he was mad to consider the Sunrise sect. "Are you sure about that, Ghost?" "Yes, I gave my word and am not going to back away now." Sadie saw an immovable resolution in his eyes as she sighed. "So be it, but if you change your mind, my sect gates are always open for you, like we join your whorehouse," Gaia mumbled inside his mind. Lots of disciples from the Morning Star were staring at him when he reached the bottom, and their eyes were filled with enmity and hatred towards him. Since he had just taken first place in today's competition, and offended their seniors in front of all these people, they marked him as their enemy. Don't expect the next round will be like this. On the battleground, only the cultivation level matters. Someone walked up to Michael and whispered to him as he turned back to look at a red-haired youth standing in front of him. And behind the red-haired youth, there was a bunch of youth who seemed like his minions. "Who the F***K is he? When did you F***K with him? If someone wanted to hurt him, they must be at least body strengthening stage level 2, and none of these youngsters were at that level." Whatever, he just shrugged and walked towards the Sunrise sect people who were looking at him like they had seen a demon. Chapter 30. The sudden appearance of a genius like him shook the square by storm, and everyone was waiting to see his battle prowess in the next round. The intense second round competition would take place on a fighting stage, and this is what most people were looking forward to, because only the powerful ones would be able to survive and win the round. Although he had taken first place in the first round and set a new record by stepping on the 100th step, some people were not very optimistic about him considering his weak cultivation level. Since no one had really seen him killing the disciples of the Blood and Bone sect, it was logical to doubt him. They were thinking of being able to resist some pressure doesn't really mean that he can defeat the higher level cultivators in close combat. Some of them were even betting on his survival since he had offended the celebrity disciples, especially Alex Fisher and Selena, and neither of these two were not someone who can be easily dealt with. They were the rising stars of Breedia and heirs to two prominent families. All the disciples of the Morning Star and Golden Valley were looking at him with jumbled emotions. Since the starting of the competition, none of the competitors brought shame to their sect, and seniors like Ghost did, an outsider from nowhere. And even after that, he didn't join any of their sects but actually decided to join a declined sect, and this angered them to an extent. The first round of the competition is completed. All top 24 participants proceed to the fighting stage in 5 minutes. Selena announced this time, and the 4 of them flew to the next stage and landed on a high tower in the center of the square. In front of the tower, 12 4-meter-tall fighting stages were waiting for the 24 participants. "This freak going to F***K them all up," sighed Gaia sighed. Unlike these doubtful crowds, she saw him massacre each and every disciples and Ralphie without using any dirty tricks. Even a strengthening stage level 2 cultivator couldn't do anything to him. What these weaklings could do to him. If there wasn't a chance that someone might recognize her, Gaia would jump out and start making bets to get super rich. The 24 youngsters who were in high fighting spirits didn't take the given 5-minute break but already reached the fighting stages as Michael walked towards the Sunrise sect people. Everyone, the elders and the group of disciples, came rushing to him as they surrounded him. A moment ago he looked extremely arrogant and cold, but now his demeanor took a 180 turn and looked friendly and warm. Young man you. Elder Sandra's voice trailed, but Michael sighed and retrieved Rion's blood-stained badge from his storage. Each of their eyes widened and their bodies slightly shook looking at the bloodied badge on his hand. I'm sorry for your loss, he sighed and started to tell what happened at the Rosewood village, making Rion the hero of this story. Some of the female disciples dropped on their knees hearing him as tears started to flow out of the male disciples too. Michael was surprised to see each of them look truly saddened by Rion's demise, and except Elder Mark, the other elders also couldn't hold back their tears. Young man, you don't have to join us for Rion, it's still not too late to join the big sects for you. No, what use of big sects if they don't even teach their students the basic humanity? At the same moment, standing on the tower, Selena took a step forward and spoke with a loud voice. The stairway was just a warm-up, so it doesn't matter who took the first place and who took the last place. It was just a filter for the second round. Only those who have exceptional cultivation and power will be able to survive the second round. Celine might have said this looking at the crowd, but it was definitely directed towards Michael. Miss Selena, may we know what the rewards are this year? Someone from the crowd shouted as everyone stared at Selena for her answer. Yeah, tell us, senior, it will be an extra motivation for us. A youngster from the Morning Star asked, and not only did the participating disciples look up with anticipation, but even the crowd was also filled with expectations. The competition was organized by the royal family and the three big sects, so the reward would be no joke. So be it, the first place will be rewarded with 3 things, 50,000 gold, 1 storage ring and 1,000 years old blood lotus. When they heard about the 3 rewards, the crowd immediately became restless. Awesome. 50,000 gold. With this amount, the winner don't even have to cultivate but spend the rest of their life like a king. K the gold. The 1,000-year-old blood lotus is even more precious and valuable. When turned into the arch pill and consumed, it would cancel the bottleneck between the body refining and body strengthening stage. This is a huge reward. The storage ring is not a normal thing either. The storage ring is small and convenient to carry, and it can imprint a person's soul wave, making it so that only the owner can use it. The second place will get. Selena started to speak, but Michael was not in the mood to listen since he was aiming for the first place. I hope the rewards are worth my time. The disciples felt like they had just been attacked by a huge hammer when they heard him and looked at his face. Brother Ghost, don't tell me you don't know the value of these things? Not much. He was still new to this world, so he had no idea what he could do with 50,000 gold. Obviously, he didn't care about the space rings, he had the system storage for that, and this was the first time he was hearing the name Blood Lotus. Young man, do you really think you can take the first place in the second round too? Elder Miles asked doubtfully as Michael smiled. I don't think, Elder, I know I can. I have a reputation to protect. After all, they saw no fear in his eyes but pride and confidence as the loud boom sounds of war drums appeared again. Boom boom boom, good luck, young man. Please be safe, Brother Ghost. Michael waved at them and went to the fighting stage where Alex was waiting for the participants. When all the 24 participants were ready, they were now just waiting for Selena's command, and she casually waved her hand as 24 phone-sized marble plates flew out in line. Each plate's back faced each participant. Erase 24 plates, on top of them there is a number from 1 to 12. Choose one randomly. Participants who get the same number will be fighting against each other on the stage. This was the same rule as Gaia said earlier. Pray to your god that we don't pick the same number, the red-haired youth from before said with an evil smile. Who the F***K are you? He didn't even know this guy. He was doing his best to get himself killed, and Michael wondered why. Hearing Michael, a flash of anger appeared in his eyes. You'll know soon. Aside from the top 3, for the rest of you, your sect will reward you individually depending on your results. Therefore, everyone has to fight with all of their strength, Adam Kane said loudly. Let the fights begin, Selena said as all the participants walked up and chose a plate. Among the 24 participants, 8 from the Morning Star, 6 from the Golden Valley, 6 from the Silver Moon. In the remaining 4, 2 picked the Morning Star and 1 joined the Golden Valley. Michael was the only one who didn't come from any big background and picked the Sunrise sect. Michael randomly picked and flipped the plate in his hands to see 6 was written on it. This means that the other person who had 6 on his plate would be his opponent, and they would be fighting on the 6th fighting stage. Who's the poor F***Cur who got 6? The fights will be deathmatch, and the only way to escape death is to surrender. This is a survival of the fittest competition. There's no place for mercy here. If you have the skill and chance, kill your opponent without giving him or her the chance to surrender. Most of the crowd frowned hearing Alex, but Michael agreed with him. These cultivators were extremely cruel and ruthless. If the roles were reversed, None of these youngsters would show him mercy or give him the chance to surrender because as far as they were concerned, he's their enemy. However, the only thing that made him think deeper was Rian. Even though he was a cultivator just like them, he was kind and died saving those children, sacrificing his life. Well, you really have such bad luck. Again, Michael heard that annoying voice of the red-haired youngster and turned his head. He was standing in front of him with the marble plate in his hand. Number 6. Chapter 31. Hey, who's the other one? You better run and hide, little lamb. A youngster jumped up onto the first fighting stage and called out his opponent arrogantly. He wore the uniform of the Morning Star and his face was filled with arrogance. But the next second, when he saw who his opponent was, the arrogance disappeared from his face as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He felt like he was going to faint on the spot because the one who just landed in front of him was none other than Victoria Parker from the Golden Valley. I surrender. He didn't take much time as he immediately said these words and jumped down from the fighting stage. The speed was even greater than the speed of him jumping up to the stage. Although he seemed arrogant, he knew his limits. Fighting head-to-head with a powerful prodigy like Victoria Parker was no different than committing suicide. On another side, the same happened when Evan Clark appeared. His opponent also didn't dare to fight with him, so he did the logical thing, surrender. The crowd felt disappointed not seeing Victoria and Evan in action. But their disappointment quickly vanished when they laid their eyes on the 6th stage where Ghost and the red-hired youth were facing each other. To be honest, you surprised me by reaching the 100th step, but unfortunately you're going to die today. This youngster looked extremely arrogant, and when Michael took a closer look at his robe, he noticed a star embroidered on his chest, the symbol of Morning Star. His red hair fluttered in the wind as he radiated a powerful body refining stage level 4 cultivation level. Brother Orion, please don't. We saw him massacre the entire Blood and Bone sect and burn their disciples alive. Not far from the fighting stage, someone shouted out loud, and when Michael looked in the direction of the voice to see the group of Morning Stars he had met earlier. No one takes what's mine, now I will make an example out of him to let the world know what would happen if they take what belongs to me. Orion Kesher, human, he must be the person left the mark on the quest we took. Hearing this, Michael slightly shook his head and started to laugh, which made the crowd wonder why he was laughing. Orion felt offended and frowned looking at him, laughing. Why are you laughing? You really looking to fight me because I took a quest from the guild? Are you dumb or something? Listen to your classmates and surrender, he'll let you live. His laugh stopped and now he looked at him coldly while releasing a slight killing intent around him. Brother Ghost is scary. One of the female disciples of the Sunrise sect became afraid of him looking at his cold face. Michael didn't hold back, therefore many people in the square heard him loud and clear. The other stages quickly lost their views and everyone turned their gaze towards stage 6. Do you believe he could have killed them without using any dirty tricks? You believe whatever you want and stand aside, I got this. With a wave of his hand, Orion stopped Clara's group from saying anything. Even the 4 geniuses on the top turned to look at stage 6 to see what the famous ghost could really do. That good-for-nothing Ralphie couldn't even kill a weakling like him. Humph, he was nothing but a disgrace to call himself a sect master, he snorted. Senior Orion, kill him. That's right, tear him into pieces. Some of the fans of Selena and Alex started to shout loudly and fanned Orion's arrogance. They didn't believe that a body refining stage level 5 cultivator like Orion can't kill the one who is only at level 1. Clara felt uneasy in her mind because she had already witnessed his terrifying power before. In front of Michael, Orion shouted as loudly as he could. Orion dashed at him with a silver sword in his hand while magical symbols appeared around the sword to enhance its power. Swoosh. Kill this F*****cur human. Yet before Orion could come closer, the crowd saw Ghost's body turn into a bolt of lightning and disappear from Orion's view. But in a flash, he appeared behind Orion, and from his fingertip, a blue lightning bolt shot through Orion's forehead. What? Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body refining stage level 5 cultivator. The reward is 4,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. The next moment, Orion dropped on the ground with a hole right between his eyes. The youngster who acted so high and might a moment ago did not have a chance to scream and lying on the ground dead. A puff of smoke was coming out of Orion's wound and his eyes were still wide open, as a terrified expression could be seen on his face. This scene terrified everyone and sent a cold chill through their spine. Killings like this on Heaven's Gate competition was a usual thing and the crowd didn't fear the blood and deaths. However, what terrified them was how the ghost killed Orion. He was quick as lightning and Orion didn't even get the chance to raise his sword at him or defend himself. Dumb F*****cur, Gaia sighed and cursed looking at his dead body. The loud shout was the only thing he did on the fighting stage. Orion didn't even have a chance at attacking, he didn't even have the time to show his combat skill and combat weapon. The loud shout was his only performance on the fighting stage. Michael's face showed an expression of indifference and he didn't even take a look at the dead body lying on the ground. Neglecting the thousands of shocked eyes on him, he jumped down from the fighting stage. He made living by assassinating people and killing Orion didn't feel any different. Michael even gave him the chance to surrender and his classmates told him not to fight, but he ignored all of them because of his arrogance and paid the price with his life. Holy shit. What just happened? How could he be so fast? This is too shocking. Just how powerful is the ghost? He killed someone who was 4 levels higher than him. He killed him like swatting a bug. That Orion kid should have surrendered. Did you guys see that? The ghost didn't even blink his eyes when he killed, he's actually looking down on the Morningstar sect. Just with his attitude and courage alone, he has my respect. Everybody was still shocked and the square was once again in uproar. Only Clara and her group knew the outcome 100% sure. The fear and respect towards the ghost had once again risen everyone's hearts. Thank God that bullying son of a bitch is dead. Yeah, I too secretly wanted him to die. Damn it. He killed one of us. Some of them from the Morningstar looked relieved while some of them looked pissed off. But many of them were looking at Evan Clark, their ultimate hope and the trump card in their sleeve. I want him to be matched with Evan. I bet Evan will beat him in combat, that's for sure. Withstanding pressure and fighting head-to-head is entirely two different things. Evan Clark was the representative of the Morningstar sect in this competition and his abilities were extraordinary, unlike Orion. After a few minutes, the first round came to an end. 12 participants had been eliminated, and the remaining 12 would continue fighting. Just like before, they would draw plates and fight the ones who picked the same number as them. Again, Victoria Parker and Evan Clark were having a field day as their opponents surrendered the moment they saw them. On the other hand, Hannah Berry and Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon fought with the disciples of Golden Valley and killed them by beheading them without a second thought. This time, when Michael came to his fighting stage, he saw a level 4 body refining stage youth standing before him. But the moment he saw him, he took a few steps back and threw his sword on the ground. I surrender. After he said that, he turned around and jumped off the fighting stage. He just witnessed Orion, who was a level higher than him, getting killed in a second, so the youth didn't dare to fight the ghost. Looking at him retreating, he didn't make fun of him or do anything but jumped off the stage. After the second round, there were only 6 people left. Evan Clark from the Morningstar, Victoria Parker, and another girl from the Golden Valley, Hannah Berry, and Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon and the Ghost from Sunrise Sect. The crowd felt goosebumps looking at the 6 of them because no matter how they paired with, it would be a battle worth watching. Let the fighting continue. Selena said in a strict manner as she waved her hand and threw out another 6 plates again. This time, Michael's opponent was none other than Nyla Reed from the Silver Moon, a prodigy. Unlike before, the 3 fights didn't happen simultaneously. And surprisingly, Victoria Parker and the girl from her sect chose the same number, which resulted in the girl surrendering to Victoria. The crowd was disappointed, but it was not something they weren't expecting either. But they didn't expect Hannah Berry to surrender to Evan Clark, which was a huge bummer to the crowd as they started to boo at Hannah Berry. Chapter 32. Because of the 2 previous bummers, Michael's and Nyla Reed's fight had become the center of attention during this 3rd round. Everyone's gaze was on Michael and Nyla Reed. A fight between these two, who would be the last one standing. Even Evan Clark and Victoria Parker were watching this with serious expressions. They all wished to know more about his abilities. Under everyone's gaze, 2 figures simultaneously jumped onto the 3rd fighting stage. These 2 were Michael, who was dressed full black, and Nyla Reed, who was wearing leather trousers and a blue long fur coat. Who do you guys think will win? It is hard to say who will win. We don't know the extent of Ghost's power and we have only seen him fight once. It's indeed hard to tell, but Nyla's seduction skill is unparalleled. Her seduction skill and her ability to confuse someone's mind is not something to take lightly. On the fighting stage, Michael stood opposite Nyla. Her body was soft and curvy, she had a perfect muscle-to-fat ratio and a perfect structure. A pair of blue eyes checked out Michael and scanned his body from bottom to the top. Warning. The opponent is trying to attack the host telepathically. Firewall activated. The firewall he bought to prevent Gaia from trying anything funny when she merged with him now stopped Nyla. Does the host wish to eliminate the intruder or punish the intruder? Suddenly the people were startled to hear Nyla scream as they saw a golden light shot out from Ghost's eyes at Nyla. What's wrong? What happened? The disciples of the Sunrise Sect were confused and looking at Nyla's body as blood started to pour out of her eyes. nose and mouth. The crowd and the youngster became extremely shocked because he didn't even raise a finger against her, but she seemed to be in agony. Even the celebrity disciples had no idea what kind of spell he just used. What did he do? Oh my God! Another turmoil appeared in the square. Many of the people couldn't understand the reason behind Nyla's agony and scream. Just as she was screaming and rolling on the ground, Michael slowly started to walk towards her. Human, what did you do? Look at her carefully, Gaia. If someone tried to mess with my mind, this is the result. Gaia felt extremely afraid as she was glad she didn't try to do anything after he nearly killed her in the tavern room. Is he going to kill her? Why is she not surrendering? Sadie and the rest of the Silver Moon girls were looking and shouting at Nyla as Michael grabbed her by the neck and lifted her up. She was shaking and trying to land her feet on the ground, but he lifted her higher with just one hand, and on the other hand, the lighting cracks started to appear. Beezizi, did you really think you could play with my mind? He asked coldly as she kept gasping for air. Ghost, don't. From standing on the top, Sadie shouted at Michael, fearing that he would kill her junior in cold blood. Nyla. Surrender. Give me one reason why shouldn't I kill her. Human, what are you doing? Gaia knew it was not his style negotiating without killing her. I will pay you. Sadie remembered that Orion said Ghost took his quest and one would only take a quest from the guild for one reason, coins. I'm listening. Is he for real? He's making a deal on the fighting stage. Sadie was relieved to hear him. 5,000 gold. Now the crowd gasped for air hearing the amount as Michael let out a small smile. Make it 10. How dare you turn this competi? Shut up, Alex. Alex couldn't bear to see these two turn this prestigious competition and fighting stage into a marketplace, but Sadie was not in the mood to take shit from Alex. Deal, now please let her go. It was not his style to let someone go after they tried to kill him, but when he was about to kill her, the system warned him and recommended him to reconsider. It was the first time the system warned him like that, and he also realized why the system warned him, because killing Nyla Reed would surely piss off the people of Silver Moon, especially Sadie, and he was not strong enough to take on her or Silver Moon. So he chose to use Nyla to earn some money and the favor of Sadie because he had already messed with Morningstar, and it would be good to have an ally behind him until he became stronger. Alright, a deal's a deal, as he said. He threw Nyla towards the Silver Moon girls, and Hannah Berry was there to catch her friend. Nyla, are you alright? She was still coughing blood and trying to gasp for air. Slowly with time, the blood flowing out of her nose and ears stopped, but her face still looked frightened and pale. When she landed on the fighting stage, she had immediately applied her seduction skill on Ghost and tried to confuse him. But she had never expected that her seduction skill would not affect him. Not only his mental capacity was beyond her imagination, but also her telepathic attack backlashed and almost took her life. Thank you, Nyla said, looking at Sadie gratefully. She had already witnessed Ghost's approach. He was not someone who would show mercy just because she was a girl. There was no doubt in her mind that if it wasn't for Sade, he would have killed her. You've done me a great favor by sparing my junior. Ghost, if there's anything you require my help, feel free to ask me. Sadie laughed as she said, standing on the top. Her words were meant to openly seduce him. Lucky bastard. Some of the disciples from the sects cursed him, looking at the way she talked to him. She was being flirty, and if he wanted, he could spend the night with her alone. However, Michael just nodded with an uninterested smile. Compared to Gaia, these women from the Silver Moon are just some run-of-the-mill girls. With this battle, the finalists had been revealed and the crowd erupted in cheers for the upcoming fights. Until now, Victoria and Evan hadn't fought a single battle. All of their opponents had given up before even attempting to fight. Only Michael, the dark horse, was the treat for their eyes as he kept their spirit up without boring them. Every time he appeared on the battle stage with his charisma and power, he would treat them with a memorable battle. Nobody had expected him to be that strong, as there was not much known about his strength previously. He had won all of his battles, and after seeing his battle power, they even doubted that Evan and Victoria could defeat him because he seemed extremely powerful for a level 1 body refining stage warrior. Final fight will be between Ghost versus Evan, Clark versus Victoria Parker, announced Selena, and just by hearing the names, the crowd felt goosebumps all over their bodies. The crowd was sure that these three would definitely fight each other without surrendering. Hey, do you think Ghost can defeat them? I think Evan and Victoria would try to eliminate him before they fight each other. After all, if Ghost won the final, it would bring shame to both the sects. You're overestimating the new guy. He's just a level 1 cultivator, while Evan and Victoria both are level 8. It's not a small difference, is it? They wanted to see how Ghost would last against Victoria and Evan. But whoever wins the competition, this would surely be a great battle to watch. The final will begin in 10 minutes on the battle stage. 1-inch. Victoria and Evan were surrounded by their classmates discussing their strategy while Michael relaxedly came to where the Sunrise people were standing. Brother Ghost. The girls and boys of Sunrise sect felt more attached to him due to his easygoing behavior, while the elders too slowly started to come to an understanding that he's now a disciple of their sect. Young man, what's your real name? Where did you come from? A genius like you can't be a nobody. Reaching the 100th step and defeating a genius like Nyla without even laying a finger on her wasn't something a normal person could do. With his low-level cultivation, it should have been impossible, but the youngster before them did just that. Hearing Elder Sandra's question, Michael smiled. I don't have a real name. I came from a very distant land, and back there people used to call me Ghost, so it became my real name. Since he had to put on various disguises and lie constantly to reach his target, Michael was very proficient at lying, and because of that, the elders couldn't see any signs of him lying as they believed everything he just said. What you just did, making a deal on the battle stage? Elder Miles frowned, thinking what he did was dishonorable, but Michael waved his hand. Does this old dog want us to go to war with Silver Moon? Gaia was not happy with Elder Mila's question as she shouted in Michael's mind. Elder, I think there's a fine line between courage and stupidity. That Silver Moon girl is a genius, and killing a genius is not as simple as killing a normal disciple. If I killed her, not only they would have attempted to take revenge on me, but also they would have attacked our whole sect. That won't be a favorable situation for us, would it? He's right, Elder Miles, we can't afford to offend these people, Claire said as the other elders and the disciples nodded their heads. But how do you plan to face Evan and Clark? They won't be easy as Nyla, and as you have said, you can't kill them. I just beat the crap out of them easy peasy, even though by now they had realized he's a freak of nature. Looking at him talk without a worry about the upcoming battle still shocked them. Young man, don't be too cocky. I've seen them fight. They are extremely talented and have many powerful spells in their arsenal. Elder, trust me, they can't even lay a finger on me. Chapter 33. If someone else had said this, they would have burst into laughter and knocked him on the head, but when it comes to this freak of nature, they could not tell that he will lose to Evan and Victoria. For the last battle, the 3 remaining participants will step onto stage 1. The last one remaining on stage will be the winner. The battle will begin in a minute. Alright, it's time to show them who's the new boss here. Michael brushed away the dust on his shoulder and turned around to go to the battle stage. When he was about to take a step forward, someone grabbed him by his hand and he turned and saw the worried face of the sect leader Claire. All the best. If he could win the tournament and give the rewards to the sect, she could settle a portion of the debt to the debt collectors and buy some of their lands back. With Ghost, they now had the chance to survive without closing their gates. Thank you, sect leader. He patted the sect leader's soft hands and smiled. Evan and Victoria were already on their way to the stage and the crowd was waiting for him. While his black robes and hair were fluttering in the wind, he walked towards the stage and landed on the stage with a simple leap. Looking at the 2 stars of the younger generation and the dark horse of this tournament, the crowd was really excited. The last battle was finally going to start. Victoria's strength was obviously incredible. And Evan was just as powerful as Victoria, and when these two were fighting, their fight became more than a battle between 2 individuals, as their fight would represent the clash of 2 big sections. And finally there was the dark horse, Ghost, who seemed extremely powerful and a freak. After seeing what he could do, no one underestimated him. Looking at his low-level cultivation. Step down, you 2 can't defeat me, said Victoria suddenly in an extremely arrogant way. She looked like she was showing disdain for everything and everyone. Don't be too arrogant, Victoria, Evan calmly replied to her. You never learn, said Victoria and closed her eyes for a moment. Immediately after, a gigantic golden phoenix made of arch energy had appeared behind her back. The phoenix looked like a holographic image, but only more realistic and majestic. It must be the flaming phoenix spell of the Golden Valley. She learned it. They said the spell can only be learned by someone who is worthy. People muttered and stared at Victoria with a dumbstruck look on their faces, and even Evan was startled to see the power coming from the phoenix. She definitely deserves to be called the Princess of Golden Valley. She learned the flaming phoenix and it looked so strong and powerful. The crowd was trembling, but suddenly a blue light radiated from Evan's body. On his back appeared a white tiger, and then, the holographic tiger roared and trembled the entire area with its might. Cool. Michael couldn't help but be impressed by the spells cast by these 2, as he felt like he was watching a magic show from a front row seat. The majestic tiger. It must be an ancient spell. I can even feel the power the tiger is radiating. This is worth the trip. Evan is so strong. I still can't predict who would win this fight. Many people were filled with emotion when they saw how strong Evan was and how beautiful Victoria was. They were filled with admiration and worship looking at these two. And since the crowd was mostly composed of men, Victoria drew most of their attention with her beauty. Not only was she extremely gorgeous but she was also extremely talented. They were very excited to see how she would develop and what other powers she would show in the future. She's extremely powerful and has the Flaming Phoenix. With that spell she would be almost invincible. I'm not sure. Evan hasn't revealed his full strength yet, so it is impossible to judge. Hey, don't forget about the ghost. My guts tell me that he would win this thing. Everybody was giving their own opinion about who was going to win or lose. But many of them thought that it's either Victoria or Evan. Only a few of them thought Ghost had a chance to win. Even if he was now regarded as someone extremely powerful, the crowd still thought that there were only two people who had a chance to win within the three remaining participants. Two amazing and mighty cultivators of Breedia Kingdom, Victoria Parker and Evan. On the other side, a mysterious yet powerful youngster. The three of them were on the stage, each of them standing in a triangle formation as Victoria was staring at Evan from the beginning. Evan was also continuously staring at her. They were staring at each other as if they were fighting a one-on-one battle. While they were engaged in a staring contest, Michael seemed very relaxed thinking about which skill to invest his badass points after upgrading his cultivation. After a while, Victoria's attention was finally drawn away from Evan. She had an arrogant smile on her face. You're somewhat okay. If you wish, you can leave that lowly sect and join us, the Golden Valley. If you do so, I can personally help you with cultivation once in a while. Victoria had a huge smile on her face. She looked completely arrogant. She didn't do it on purpose, but could not hide the arrogance which had been engraved into her very soul. Michael didn't like her calling the Sunrise sect as lowly because compared to them, they taught humanity to their students. Even though he was not a saint to preach about humanity, he was not that bad to watch innocent people get massacred without raising a finger. In a world that was as cruel as this one, he started to value kindness and compassion more and more. You want to help me in cultivation? He hid his true emotions and asked. This girl seemed to have considered her as the world's best and completely arrogant down to the last fiber of her being, as expected. Indeed, I, personally, can help you in cultivation, said Victoria, who didn't know what he really meant. She even thought that he was feeling very honored. You have to understand that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I don't usually take on mentoring programs, but for you I can make an exception. Can we kill this bitch now, human? Victoria's arrogance nauseated Gaia and she couldn't wait to see him teach this arrogant girl a lesson. Yet, Victoria's proposition was really tempting to common people. Many ordinary cultivators would have dreamt of being offered such an opportunity. To have a mentor not only as powerful as she but also pretty and sexy, was simply a dream come true for many disciples of Golden Valley. Imagine Victoria coming to my room to teach me. Dude, you're drooling, lucky bastard, getting such offers from two of my dream girls. Many people in the crowd envied Michael so much and were looking on with eyes full of jealousy. But for Michael, she was just a joke since he has the best mentor in the world, the system, and besides he already has an arrogant snake to deal with and didn't want another one. I should feel honored? He asked in a joking and teasing tone. She still failed to realize his sarcasm, unlike Evan. Why wouldn't you feel that way? Asked Victoria with a smaller smile on her face than before. I pass. You're not good enough to teach me how to cultivate or anything for that matter. The moment these words left his mouth, the whole stadium went dead silent, and in Evan's eyes, he looked far more arrogant and narcissistic than Victoria. After hearing him, her face reddened in anger as she started to tremble in anger. How dare you? Victoria shouted extremely aggressively in an ice-cold tone. Can we just fight and get this over with? Michael shook his head without minding her throwing a temper tantrum and asked Evan. Who do you think you are? Today I will break your arrogance in your body. The flaming phoenix behind her opened its mouth and breathed a stream of illusionary fire. And then immediately, her entire body was covered with a magnificent golden light looking like rays of the sun. This magnificent view stunned the eyes of the people in the crowd. Flaming Phoenix, how awesome, said the crowd, amazed. At that moment, Victoria's body looked majestic and radiated a divine aura around her. Evan Clark, I will defeat you first and show who's the real genius of our generation. Her long hair was fluttering in the air and coupled with the golden aura which had surrounded her body. The eyes of the crowd sparkled at the sight of her. And then I will deal with you. She didn't even look at Michael as now all of her focus was on Evan and the White Tiger. Might of Phoenix, supreme slap. She made an incredibly loud noise as Evan saw that she was about to attack. He did the same and started an attack with a loud shout. He didn't think that his majestic tiger spell was going to be weaker than her flaming phoenix spell. However, when they were both going to be at each other's throats, a bolt of lightning passed right between them, breaking their confrontation. You two should attack me at once. I don't want the people to think that I only beat you because you two wasted all your energy fighting each other. Human, what the F*** K are you doing? Let them fight each other and then we can beat the last one standing. For a moment, everyone in the stadium stopped moving and looked like statues hearing him. Logically speaking, he should have let Evan and Victoria fight first and tried to defeat the one standing, because the last one standing would have wasted most of their strength defeating the other and wouldn't have much strength to fight him. Yet, he stopped them and asked them to attack him together, and they looked at him like they were looking at the dumbest person on the planet. You're the weirdest human I've ever met. Happy Christmas to all my wonderful readers. I must tell you that you guys and gals are the best. Have a piece of yummy cake and hot chocolate. Mikhail and Gaia will meet you more often from January. P.S. Don't forget to write a review and support my hard work. Chapter 34. Ha, are you kidding me? I started to respect you when you step on the 100th step, but it seems like you let that get to your head and turned into more like her. With your level, you'll never be able to withstand any of my attacks. Evan Clark sneered at Michael and looked offended by him when he asked to attack him together. Really? He asked indifferently and noticed the white tiger behind him growing bigger and bigger. The power the white tiger radiated made the people watching the scene shiver, but he was pretty calm and cool. Sensing the colossal oppressing straight coming from the white tiger, Victoria waited to see how Ghost was going to defend himself, and until now he didn't take his weapon out. Wrath of Tiger! Evan shouted and punched the air in the direction where Michael is standing as the tiger leaped at him. Lightning Dash. Looking at the tiger coming in his direction, he calmly activated the Lightning Dash skill and moved towards Evan like a lightning bolt. The Lightning Dash skill reminded him of the famous DC character Flash, as the skill made him the Flash of this world. Although he couldn't compare to the actual speed of Flash, the level 1 Lightning Dash made him run at an insane speed, as many people could only see a bolt of lightning whenever he activated the skill. In a few seconds after he disappeared from where he was standing, the tiger's gigantic paw hit the place and emitted an extremely loud explosion. Boom! Evan Clark's facial expression immediately changed as he sensed he struck nothing but the empty ground and felt a mild pain on his throat like he was bitten by an ant. What happened? How is he still alive? When the white tiger's figure faded away after the attack, the crowd saw Ghost was still standing there without realizing that he had already moved and attacked Evan. When Michael saw that Evan Clark had a bewildered look on his face, he said while smiling coldly, "You lost." The crowd was confused when he said that, but Victoria and Evan realized the meaning of his word. A small cut on Evan's throat started to become visible and blood leaked out from his throat. If the cut was a few more inches deep, he would have died, and thinking about this, he shuddered in fear. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 100 badass points. Selena and the three prodigies standing on the top saw what happened more clearly than Victoria and the crowd due to their higher cultivation level. They knew that Evan's reaction speed was much slower, and if Ghost wanted to kill him, he would have killed him. I lost. After realizing that Ghost spared his life, Evan admitted the loss right away with dignity and jumped down the stage without looking at anyone. Michael could only sigh in his heart, as he just lost a huge amount of experience due to the system's warning about killing Evan. And Evan admitting his defeat right away was a little anticlimactic for him, because Michael had thought he would admit arrogantly and refused to back down, which could have resulted in more fight and more badass points. Why did he say he lost? What did I miss? Idiot, look at his throat. Can you see he was bleeding, and who do you think could have done that? The crowd slowly started to guess what happened when they noticed the blood leaking out of Evan's throat and swallowed a mouthful of saliva looking at Ghost. How fast? What kind of spell did he use? They used to think that even though Michael proved himself in the battle with Orion, most of them still didn't think he would be stronger than Evan and Victoria in terms of actual battle prowess. However, at this moment they really thought that he was stronger than both of them. Elder Miles and the people of the Sunrise sect were also watching Michael and started to think very highly of him. They had thought that Michael wasn't that strong before, but after seeing what just happened to Evan, they realized how ignorant they had been. Even though we don't know him well, he's obviously a real genius. He must have been gifted ever since his birth. With him as our disciple, we really have a shot at reviving our sect again. First time in a long time. Elder Mark breathed a sigh of relief, and he really believed they could use him to revive their declined sect. You rely on your speed too much, and if you think you can do the same thing you did to Evan, you are going to be disappointed. Victoria sounded arrogant and self-confident again. She had recovered from her previous emotions. Relying on her rare Flaming Phoenix spell and a defense spell, she tried to break Michael's confidence. Speed? I don't need to rely on the speed to defeat you. You're thinking yourself too highly, just as everyone was thinking he would do the same to Victoria. He raised both hands as several bolts of lightning and a huge blast of wind appeared in front of him. Flame of Phoenix, Victoria's pupils were suddenly dilated as she quickly shouted. The phoenix above her breathed a hot stream of fire and clashed with his lightning bolts and wind blast. But when the fire met the wind blast, it was pushed away from him and put off in a few seconds. As for the lightning bolts, it didn't even slow down a bit as it went straight through the flames and hit her body with enormous power. The moment the lightning bolts plus the remnant force of the wind blast and the golden layer of defense she had around her body clashed, a thunderous roar spread throughout the stadium. Boom! Victoria groaned as she was already blown backward and looked extremely fragile and weak. She slid back to the edge of the fighting stage. One more step backward and she would have fallen off. At that moment, the crowd didn't know what was going on anymore, they were too confused. Michael had astonished them too many times. Each time Michael moved, they found him amazing, but each time they also realized they had been underestimating him. It seemed like his strength was ever increasing. None of them couldn't guess the depth of his powers. At this exact moment, he bested two of the superstars of the younger generations quickly and easily. They remembered how they had thought that either Evan Clark or Victoria Parker was definitely going to win this competition and had put no one else in their eyes. The crowd was not the only one to think that way. Alex and Selena, but especially the latter, when she first met him, he was such a weakling and never even reached the body refining stage. He was barely able to escape her using some weird spell. At that point she only thought he obtained these spells through luck. When he was put up to fight with Evan and Victoria, she had never imagined that he would easily beat them. What a freak of nature! Sadie's eyes widened looking at him, and she was glad that he made a deal to save her junior, considering even Evan and Victoria were defeated so easily by him. "Do you still think you have the talent to teach me?" said Michael while walking towards her as he blatantly humiliated her. Michael was filled with annoyance because of this arrogant girl's behavior, but what enraged Michael the most was that this girl didn't show a shred of respect towards anyone. In her mind, she thought she was superior to everyone and expected others to worship and respect her. He couldn't stand this arrogant and haughty girl who didn't even withstand a single attack from him. For the first time in her entire life, she was starting to feel ashamed of herself when she remembered what she had said. She felt like she was made a clown in front of all these people. "Join your sect, meet you now and then. Who do you think you are? What made you think that I would ever want to meet you?" Michael continued to talk and made her understand how ridiculous she was and that she had no right to be arrogant. Victoria had the feeling that her face was burning. She had no words to speak to refute back at him. The crowd hadn't been so excited as at that moment. He gradually was showing more and more strength, he was gradually becoming more and more awesome. At first, he shocked the entire stage by stepping on the 100th step and creating a new record, and now he had bested the two prodigies without breaking a sweat. There's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. Think about it. The crowds looked forward to what he was going to do as he stepped closer to Victoria and stood only a step away from her. Ah! Just like in the movies, Michael Sparta kicked her on the chest and sent her flinging from the stage. "Sister Victoria." The disciples from the Golden Valley boys and girls rushed at her and caught her without letting her hit the ground. "He won. He won. Ghost." The crowd erupted in cheers and filled the stadium with the sound of their thunderous claps as Michael stood there alone on the battle stage. The four prodigies from the top saw Victoria's unconscious body and sighed because this was the first time the rewards were going to another sect other than their three big sections. Brother Ghost won. Sect leader Claire Elders, he won. Just as the disciples of the Sunrise sect became excited, they saw Celine throwing a small ring to Ghost from standing on the top. "The rewards are in the space ring." After she said that, she and Alex didn't even come down as they flew away on their flying swords while Adam nodded at him and left with them. The only person who came down to the stage was Sadie. "The gold coins of our little deal are also in that space ring. Keep it safe and congratulations on your victory, Ghost." "Thank you, Miss Kaplan. See you later. After all this, I need a long nap." He was obviously the biggest winner of this competition, an unknown rogue cultivator who appeared as a dark horse, defeating all the disciples from the three big sects and taking first place in the first round as well as the second round. He had now become truly famous, and the name Ghost would soon be spread across the entire Breedia kingdom, and everyone would know his name. Congratulations to Master Ghost for taking first place in Heaven's Gate competition. We'll be leaving first, but if the Master Ghost has time in the future, you're always welcome to visit the Silver Moon and we will personally give you a VIP treatment. Hannah Barry let out an alluring smile and started to flirt with him. "This bitch disgusts me." Gaia shouted angrily, and the way she shouted was definitely not the way she shouts at Michael. As she said, she and the rest of the Silver Moon students left the square, and considering he did not belong to the three big sects, none of the disciples from the three sects remained any longer. Please join my Discord server to share your ideas and thoughts. Also, you get to see Michael and the characters' photos. Chapter 35. At the end of it all, only the people from the Sunrise sect were still staying. Brother Ghost. You really did it. Compared to the boys, the girls were more excited as they surrounded him like the ants around the sugar. Elder Mark put his hand on Michael's shoulder and gave a nod of appreciation. System, transfer 35,000 gold from the ring to the storage. Ding. Transfer successful. I should give this to you. After transferring the amount he received from Sadie, he gave the ring to sect leader Claire. At first, she looked reluctant to take the ring, but after looking at the other elders, she took the ring from him. No offense, but just don't ask me to wear these orange uniforms because those are fugly, haha. All the disciples from the sect burst into laughter hearing him because they themselves knew the orange uniforms were far too ugly, and it was good to hear someone openly saying this to the elders. Since the elders were in a good mood, they too laughed and the atmosphere became very lively. First, we should return to the sect and settle some of our debt, Elder Sandra sighed. At the moment, Michael was following the elders to the sect through a rural road, and his black robes had a tint of brown due to the dust. Brother Ghost, you never told us where you came from? One of the girls asked him curiously. Well, since I was born, I never stayed in the same place for long. I like to travel, so I can't give a direct answer to your question. What about your parents, Brother Ghost? I don't have any. Even though he answered this question too many times while he was growing up, it still hurt him to say it again. A sudden change appeared in their faces when they heard him. I'm sorry, Brother Ghost. Don't be, it's all right. His gentle smile made the girl quickly forget about this, and because of his easygoing behavior, they felt comfortable around him and established a good relationship with him. Young man, then how did you cultivate to this point? Those spells you used looked extremely rare and precious. Elder Mild joined the conversation and asked. As I said, Elder Mark, I traveled a lot, met many people, explored many ruins. Since I don't have anyone to teach me or help me in the cultivation path, I have to do all that not to waste my talents. Worry not anymore, young man. Even though we don't have many resources to provide you, we can teach you and guide you on the right path, Elder Mark proudly said as he patted on his back. All disciples of the Sunrise felt proud looking at him, almost putting him on top of this world. None of them were idiots, especially after witnessing what he was capable of. For such a freak of nature like him, even if he was in the three big sects, he would be amongst the top disciples, and the sect's management would put a lot of focus on him. Besides, after today's competition, his name would spread across the Breedia Kingdom, so he was now a superstar of the younger generation. Since now even the worst of the outer disciples of the three big sects ridicule them and their sect as well as bully them whenever they could. However, with him as their core disciple, which the elders would surely make him as one, they had the means to walk head high in front of those who mocked them. And don't think that you don't have a family, young man, as Elder Miles said, we don't have resources, but we treat everyone in our sect as our family, and now you have become one of us. Elder Sandra slightly brushed his head like a mother and smiled at him. For the first time in his long life, his heart felt warm as he smiled. He had quite a good impression of the people in the sect. They were poor in wealth but very rich in kindness. Although he was once the greatest assassin/hitman ever lived on the earth, he was a lonely man as he had no family, no friends, no girlfriend, and no one even saw his real face except for his mentor. All he had was his job and a shitload of money in his offshore accounts and affection towards his job. But in this life he wanted to change that. He wanted relatives, he wanted a wife, and he wanted some people to rely on and friends. In this life he simply didn't want to be lonely. We must guide him to reach higher levels of cultivation. Alex and Selena wouldn't let go of the fact he refused to back down and stood side by side on the top of the stairs, Elder Mark said worriedly while walking. Everyone's happy expression turned gloomy, even Elder Miles furrowed his brows. Don't worry about them, Elder Mark, it's just a matter of time before I surpass them, and then if they cross my path, I'll kill them, he said with a casual smile, but the disciples noticed the murderous intent in his eyes and felt a little afraid. Michael and the Sunrise sect disciples were talking along the way until they finally reached their destination. Sunrise sect used to be an extremely prestigious and strong sect several decades ago. It was even more prestigious and powerful than the three big sects at its peak. However, since Claire's grandfather died during one of his adventures and the previous sect leader, her father, disappeared, the entire sect's prestige fell drastically. Claire relied on her extraordinary innate talents and the scarce amount of resources at her disposal to cultivate up to her current stage. In just a short span of 26 years, she reached the body refining stage and took the helm of the sect leader position after. The entire Sunrise sect relied heavily on her and the pair of sect elders to uphold the entire sect. Their days were difficult and rough, and the minute he stepped through the gates of the sect, their poor situation became obvious to his eyes. Many of the buildings he had seen were broken down and old. It was clear that it had been many years since their last renovation. Several backyards were full of dried leaves, and the numerous cobwebs show how long it's been uncared for. During their conversation, the disciples told him that the total number of disciples within the sect was around 30. Next to him, the strongest disciples were at the foundation stage level 8. And the rest of them were below foundation stage level 5. Since the sun was almost down and he was pretty tired, sect leader Claire gave him their best house with a yard to live in. At this point he was already at the first level of the body refining stage. But he only needed 3 or 4 days to reach level 5 of the body refining stage with the experience points on hold. Brother Ghost, it's not much, but this is the best house we got. The disciple called Jack led him to an old worn-out house, and according to him, it was their best house. If this is their best house, just imagine what the other house would look like. Even my maids wouldn't stay in there, Gaia growled, looking at the dried front lawn and the old house behind it. Jack looked embarrassed, but Michael smiled and gave a small pat on his shoulder. It's okay, Jack, this is good enough for me. With a smile and nod, Jack left him on the lawn as he sighed and entered the house. The house had a small hall and a room with an attached bathhouse, and that was it. There wasn't even any furniture to sit on except the old bed in the room. Look at that, the tour ended before even it begins. Gaia jumped out of his body and kicked the pebble lying on the ground. We can renovate the place later, but for now, as he said, he entered the system shop and purchased a huge white sofa, a small-sized golden silk bed along with high-end blankets, and placed them all around the room. What the F***K? Where did you get those? You carry these in your space ring everywhere. Her eyes sparkled looking at the sofa and the bed in front of her. She wanted to jump into the fluffy bed, considering it was too long since she ever laid on a bed. Before Gaia, he jumped into the bed as an evil grin appeared on his face, thinking of a new way to tease her. Come on, don't be shy, the bed is small so we can sleep while cuddling each other, hee. You. Gaia became extremely furious and shocked as she stared at him. After stuttering for a few minutes, she couldn't find a fitting word to curse him. As a princess and a powerful cultivator of Nagaland, she had never been shamelessly hit on like this before. And what made her even more furious was the way he asked her. You F***, king F***, carry F***, cur. She leaped at him with mouth open like a wild dog to bite him. Yet, he moved to the side as she landed face first on the bed, and when she turned around, he was on top of her. She tried to shout, but her throat tightened and face turned red because this was the first time she had been this close to a man. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at his eyes while her heart started to punch against her chest as she could feel the heat coming from his nose and sensed the fragrance of his face. What are you? She was powerless, and she knew if he wanted to take advantage of her, there was no stopping it. Geez, would it kill you to apply some makeup? As he asked, he moved to the side as she was frozen by his comment for a moment. Michael suddenly felt a sharp pain in his hand and looked at his arm to see she was furiously biting it in anger like a little girl. Did you at least brush your teeth? Yo. She became even more furious when she heard him and put more strength to bite his hand. Michael laid down on the bed as he stared out of the window, watching the beautiful moon and the beautiful girl on the sofa before him. The light from the moon reflected on her figure and made her look extraordinarily beautiful. Even if she tried to dress as a ghost to scare him, it would have been impossible due to how beautiful she is. Hey, what? After what happened on the bed, there was a tint of shyness in her eyes, but she masked it with an annoyed expression. I'm going to break through, so you have to keep anyone from disrupting my cultivation. Michael sat upright and said, This soon? You just had reached the body refining stage 2 days ago. She frowned and didn't believe he could break through again, but after spending time with him, she knew this freak of nature might be telling the truth. Cultivation is a walk in the park for a talented person like me. He winked at her. Gaia had never met a more narcissistic, self-praising human like him before, as he now looked like the definition of pride. What can I do? Bite whoever comes knocking? You have to give me something to get back some of my power? For a moment she resembled a sly fox. As for what she meant by something, he knew she wants a healing pill to heal her meridians. Here, you greedy snake, he already bought 1 pill from the shop as he threw it at her. Only 1. She growled when she realized he only gave her 1 pill, and at this rate, it would take at least 200 more pills to completely repair her broken meridians and start cultivating. 1 now and do this successfully, I'll give you 2 pills, 4 pills, Gaia raised 4 fingers and bargained 3 pills. Deal. She proudly smiled, praising her bargaining talent, and suddenly she remembered something. Why didn't you ask those old curs to do this? I forgot it, and it's too late to knock on their doors. Chapter 36. And just when he was about to close his eyes and start upgrading his cultivation, he heard Gaia's shout. Human, I just remembered that I can't show my face to anyone. If someone saw I'm here, the whole Nagaland army would be here along with that bitch. Geez, I have to take care of everything for you and you didn't even give me a kiss on the cheek. Michael rolled his eyes and said like he was really disappointed with her. Stop playing human. This is serious. You want me to protect you or what? System, do you have something for this situation? Hearing her dilemma, she sighed and entered the system to see if he could find anything that could solve this problem. And after a few seconds, a marble face mask appeared before his eyes. Name, Chameleon Class, Rare Function. Enable the wearer to change their face to look like someone else. Cultivators above or at the soul refining stage would see through the effects of the mask. Cost, 800 badass points. Does the host wish to buy the chameleon? Only the host and the subordinates can use the chameleon. Yes, he'll buy it. Since now he had a lot of badass points to spend, he bought the mask without growling at the system. What is that? Gaia saw the marble mask in his eyes and frowned, but without answering her question, he tossed the mask towards her. Wear it. But the marble mad didn't look very special, but it did look ugly in her eyes, so she was reluctant to wear this ugly thing on her face, thinking that he's asking her to hide her identity by wearing it on her face. Just wear the damn thing. But before she could make her case, he raised his voice slightly as she decided to put the mask on and curse him afterward. However, the moment the mask touched her face, it came to life and stuck onto her face as she felt a sharp pain all over her face. H. She screamed in pain and tried to peel the mask away from her face, but she couldn't. After a few seconds, the pain disappeared and opened her eyes to see the human was holding a mirror in front of her. Now better, the mask had completely changed her face and lowered her beauty by many notches, but even then, she looked pretty and hot, as she even slightly looked like Margot Robbie with black hair. How? Where? Forget it. Looking at a new face staring back at her in the mirror, she ran her fingers through her face. In her mind, she felt like she could transform back into her old self and wondered where he got such a precious item. And when she finished looking at her face, he placed his knife on her hands and said, "Use this only if you absolutely have to." Okay. He didn't want to take any chances, and after consuming the pill, she would regain some of her powers, and with the knife, she could hold the fort until he woke up. And settling everything with her, he jumped on the bed and sat crossed legs to start the upgrading process. Let's start. Chapter 37. Early morning mist began to clear as the sun rose, casting orange and pink onto a thin layer of cloud. The lively chirping of the early birds filled the air. Brother Ghost would have woken by now. I need to hurry. At this moment, a pair of legs rushed forward hurriedly in the direction of the lone house in the mountain. He was no one but Jack, the disciple who settled down Michael and Gaia yesterday. Usually, Jack would feel tired if he ran from his dorms to the core disciple house. However, today he felt energetic. The #1 genius of his generation now belonged to the Sunrise sect, which catapulted their reputation among the sections. Why is the door still closed? Reaching Michael's house, Jack halted his steps to catch his breath and wondered, looking at the closed doors. Knock. Jack knocked on the door, but he was careful not to knock too loudly in case it would disturb Ghost's cultivation. Brother Ghost. There was no reply from inside as Jack knocked again, and this time, he increased the sound of his knocking. Brother Ghost, who the fuck is there? Jack almost jumped back when an annoyed voice came from inside. A few seconds after his brain processed the voice, he realized the voice sounded feminine and nothing like Ghost. Brother Ghost? I must have misheard it, that's what he thought. Go away. Jack heard the same voice again, and this time, the voice sounded even more annoyed as he heard something heavy as a stone hitting the door. Who is there? Panic and uncertainty hit Jack's core. He clenched his fist and shouted loudly. Fucking idiot, I'm gonna beat your ass for disturbing my sleep. Jack quickly stepped back from the door as the door opened to reveal a black-haired girl staring at him furiously. He had no idea how the girl got in or who was she. All he knew was Ghost came alone with them, yet there was another girl inside his house. Who are you? The girl didn't answer him but stared at him while tying her ruffled hair into a ponytail. Nonetheless, he could tell that the girl is annoyed, but he subconsciously relaxed, seeing that the girl is just a commoner and not a cultivator. Who the fuck are you? Wait. What? You? Jack couldn't believe what he had just heard. He never thought a delicately beautiful girl like this would have such a foul mouth. For a moment, he had no responses as the girl walked towards him. Cat got your tongue? Why did you wake me up this early, you little shit? Jack was still in shock when Gaia flicked his forehead to make him talk. Who are you? What are you doing in Brother Ghost's room? After a few seconds, Jack was able to speak these words while caressing his forehead. Me? Am your Brother Ghost's mentor, you ignorant fool. Ha! However, Jack couldn't help but burst into laughter when he heard the girl. The girl before him spoke these words with a straight face and didn't even bat an eye, speaking such a huge lie. She was shameless beyond words. How could a mortal girl who is at the arch-sensing stage teach a genius like Ghost? The arch-energy in her body was too weak, and even some newborn babies would have more arch-energy inside their bodies than her. What the fuck? Gaia didn't expect such a reaction from this boy. She knew that she had blatantly lied, but he didn't have to rub it in her face like this. You mentor. Brother Ghost. Ah. His laughter suddenly turned into a scream as he felt a sharp pain across his butt. He turned to see the girl holding a long stick in her hand and swinging at him with full force, and before he could react, he received another attack. Chit. Damn. Stop it. For a girl who had no arch energy, or rather too little energy, her moves were too quick and swift. In a few seconds, his butt suffered 5 or 6 attacks and he started to fiercely stroke his rear, disregarding his pride as a man in front of a beautiful girl. Stop it. Ouch ouch. Gaia wasn't going to stop beating his ass no matter how loud he shouted. Don't make ouch, me hit you. His eyes already welled up and his butt turned red, but still, he was taught not to hit a girl, outside of serious battles and tournaments, especially not a mortal girl like her. Hit me and I'll make Ghost rip your throat out, at least age. Tell me who you are. Since he didn't want to take any chance by hitting her, Jack did the next best thing, dodge and ran away from the reach of her stick. I told you I'm his mentor, but? What's going on here? Just as Gaia was chasing Jack around with the stick in her hand, Elder Mark came to the scene. Jack, what did you do? I didn't do anything. He shouted and felt extremely wronged here, considering this girl kept attacking him with the stick for no reason. He was the victim here, yet Elder Mark asked what did he do? Teacher, I didn't do anything. I came to bring Brother Ghost to the assembly hall, but instead of Brother Ghost, I saw this mortal girl coming out of the house. Mortal? How dare you? She shouted in anger but didn't try to attack Jack, who was hiding behind Elder Mark. Girl, who are you? I'm Ghost's friend. Friend? You said. Let the girl speak, Jack. Jack quickly shut his mouth, but he was so angry and shocked seeing the honest expression she made while talking to Elder Mark. Where's Ghost? Elder Mark, however, seemed not to care about Jack's protest as he asked Gaia. He's attempting to break through. He asked me to don't let anyone disturb him, but Jack tried to do exactly that. She's lying. Breakthrough? This soon? Elder Mark's brows almost touched his head when he heard Gaia and forgot about the ruckus that happened between her and Jack a moment ago. Yes, but soon Elder Mark's reaction changed from shock to panic as he tried to rush forward into the house. Hey! Stop! Gaia jumped in front of him and stopped Elder Mark from taking any steps further. Girl, move aside. If he tried to break through, it will hinder his cultivation in the future. He must first strengthen his cultivation base. Even after hearing Elder Mark, Gaia didn't move an inch as she put both her hands on the hip and said, I don't care about that. He asked me to guard him while he's cultivating. That's what I'm going to do. Besides, that freak wouldn't have entered into the breaking through process if he wasn't sure about this. Leave him be. What do you, a mortal girl, know about cultivation? Move or I'll move you, Elder Mark threatened Gaia as she took out the knife Michael gave her angrily. Who the fuck are you talking to? I know more about cultivation than you, old fart. Chapter 38. What did you just call me? Elder Mark froze in his steps as Jack's jaw dropped down in shock. I said you can't go in there and disturb Ghost. He strictly ordered me not to let anyone inside. Gaia feared if he failed to break through, Ghost would refuse to give her any more pills, so she stood before Elder Mark like a stone pillar, refusing to let Elder Mark go inside. How am I going to hold this old man back? She thought to herself while Elder Mark was stunned. If she had her cultivation, she would have sent Elder Mark flying with a single spell, but now, she was crippled and the only reason for her body to have a little arch energy was the pills that Ghost gave her. How dare you disrespect my teacher? Jack clenched his fist and roared at her. Look, he's deep in cultivation and already started to break through. If you stop him now, it might break his meridians and cripple him. You know that. She reduced the volume of her tone and explained it to Elder Mark before he cast a spell to throw her out of the way. In front of Gaia, when Elder Mark heard her words, he sighed because he knew she was right. Also, he didn't decide to pursue the matter that she just called him an old fart, as he didn't want to lower himself to argue with the mortal girl with his status as an elder. What's your name, girl? And how do you know Ghost? Since he couldn't stop Ghost's cultivation, Elder Mark turned his focus to the haughty girl before him and tried to get to know Ghost better. She almost forgot her place and introduced herself as princess, but she quickly swallowed the remaining words and cleared her throat. I'm called Elia. I help Ghost in his cultivation by finding him ruins and places to explore. Her words made Elder Mark slightly raise his brows, but when he remembered Ghost's previous claims saying that he explored ruins and places, what she just said made sense. When did you come here? I didn't see you at the competition. I was in the river town packing our stuff to move here. Speaking of the river town, Ghost wanted Jack's help with something. She slowly turned her gaze from Elder Mark to Jack as Elder Mark asked, frowning, "What is it?" He asked Jack to go to River Town and bring Raylene Agner. Who is that? She's one of the survivors we rescued from the Rosewood Village. After 2 days? Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 2. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 3. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 4. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is Body Refining Stage Level 5. Slowly the interface appeared before Michael as the darkness that surrounded him since he started to upgrade faded away. Finally, he heaved a sigh of relief looking at the interface as he ordered the system to bring him the status window. Host. Michael Cultivation Level. Body Refining Stage Level 5 Experience Points 0/300000 Badass Points 15,000 Skills and Spells. Wind Blast LVL2 Responsive Shield LVL2 Environment Scanning LVL1 Ignitia LVL1 Lightning Dash LVL1 Energy Devover LVL1 Occupation. Disciple of Sunrise Sect Status. Healthy Goals. Be the strongest predator in the world. Subordinates. Gaia Loyalty Level 18%. Ding. Host Michael has received a lucky draw. Does the host wish to access the lucky draw? While he was looking at the refined status window, another notification tab in bright blue appeared before him. Lucky draw? What is that? Every time system goes offline for a while, the system would offer one lucky draw as compensation for its absence. Cool, I like free stuff. Open it. As he said, the bright blue tab transformed itself into a golden box, and then, the box exploded with sparks as it presented 3 cards wrapped in red ribbon before him. The host can choose one item for free. 200,000 badass points will be charged for each additional card. Holy shit. 200,000, are you kidding me? No, it was a rhetorical question, you bastard. The number made him go mad at the system, but he soon calmed himself and inspected the first card. The red ribbon on the first card unwrapped itself and presented a beating heart with descriptions about the card. Spell name. Seducer Effect. Make the target instantly fall in love with the host. Upgradable. Yes. Current level. Can affect anyone under the core formation stage. Seriously? I don't need this. System, are you playing with me? He was annoyed by the spell and would have punched the system in the face if it had a physical body. The spell would be useful if the host wants to build a harem of beautiful maidens. Harem. It's a glorified word for cheating, and no, I don't want to go from place to place collecting beauties. In every novel I read, harem would just bring the MC more troubles to deal with, so no, I'm not going to build a harem. Pushing the card away from his view, he opened the second one hoping for something better than the previous one. 100,000 experience points. The second card had no fancy effects such as beating hearts or sparkling pink letters like the previous card, rather it looked simple as a card with 100,000 numbers written on it. Tempting, certainly better than the seducer. Let me see the last 1 inch. The red ribbon wrapping the third and the final card unwrapped itself as the descriptions about the card appeared. Function name, Banker Function. Enable the system to convert gold coins into badass points. Upgradable. Yes. Current level. Conversion rate between gold coins and badass points equals 1000:1. He blinked in disbelief as his eyes opened wide looking at the card. Then after a few seconds, his lips curved in an upward arc. This is it. The one I've been waiting for. With this, I can earn badass points more easily. His joy seeing the card made him ignore the outrageous conversion rate, and also, he knew that the system won't change the rate because he's whining about it. System, I choose this one. Ding, the host has successfully acquired the level 1 banker. Awesome. System, how much to upgrade this function to the next level? 10,000 badass points. And the conversion rate will be? 1000:5. You're worse than those in the pawnshops. System, you know that, right? Even though he knew about the system's habit of taking his badass points faster than it gives him, He couldn't help but curse the system when he saw the conversion rate for the level 2 banker, which would cost him 10,000 badass points to upgrade from level 1. Put a lid on the upgrade. First I should find a source of income. To do that, I might need badass points. He closed the lucky draw window and then he took a final glance at his status window. Host Michael, cultivation level, body refining stage, level 5, experience points 0/3000000 badass points, 15,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL2 Responsive Shield, LVL2 Environment Scanning, LVL1 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devolver, LVL1 Occupation. Disciple of Sunrise Sect status. Healthy goals. Be the strongest predator in the world. Utility function. Banker. LVL1, ratio 1000 gold coins. 1 badass points. Subordinates. Gaia, loyalty level 18%. Time to rock this world. He exited the system full of excitement in his heart. At this moment, his next fun-filled adventure started again. Chapter 39. The bright sun rays made him close his eyes as soon as he opened them. It's great to be back. He turned his head left and right as his neck made a popping sound. Then he brushed away some dust bits on his shoulder and got up from the bed to leave the room. Growling. Jijijijur. What is that noise? He heard some weird noises coming from outside as he made his way out to see what's making these weird noises while looking for Gaia. It didn't take him long to locate the source of the noise and find Gaia. It turned out his couch was occupied by the snake. She was sleeping on the couch like a drunken old man as her one leg was on the couch while the other was on the ground. He could see her knee cups and wide-open mouth. His pillows were drenched in drool. Besides her ungirly posture, there were half-licked clean food bowls and cups lying around. He could tell that this snake filled its belly full of food and drinks before going to sleep on his couch. Princess my ass. Looking at the snoring and drooling snake, he sighed. Ignitia. He conjured a tiny bolt of lightning as he sneaked towards her to give her a shock treatment, literally. Gaia on the other hand had no idea of the incoming attack as she was walking towards her throne in the dream. And just when she was about to sit on her throne in the dream, she was pulled back from the dream world by a sharp tingling pain in her leg. What? She gritted her teeth and quickly rubbed her feet to make the tingling pain go away as Michael chuckled. Did you miss me? Instead of answering, she threw an empty bowl at him in anger as he flicked the bowl away with a smile. What the? You reached the body refining level 5? How? When she took a closer look at him, her mind froze in shock. He just reached the body refining stage 2 days ago, but now in 2 days he leaped from level 1 to level 5. It seems like you had a good time. She saw him glancing at the empty bowls and cups lying around her. Yet she was too stunned to say anything. Come, we have work to do. He didn't wait for her as he walked towards the door and stopped. And clean your mess, said Michael before stepping outside. I'm a princess, you bastard, she mumbled under her breath, but she reluctantly cleaned the bits of food on the couch while cursing him. Brother? A fluffy ball collided with him the moment he stepped outside as he looked down to see Cindy hugging his leg and trying to climb up on his body. Cindy? What are you doing here? He lifted the girl up and ruffled her head playfully. Brother, everyone is here. That kind sister invited us here. Who? Cindy tried to remember the name, closing her eyes as he saw the other kids, and Raylene came running to him. Brother, young master. You're awake. In a few seconds the little kids swarmed him like ants swarm sugar. Raylene, what are you guys doing here? Sect leader Claire brought us here and offered us a place here to permanently settle down, young master. She did? He was genuinely surprised by Raylene's words as the kids nodded their heads. Young master, what should we do? Asked Raylene. Brother, please can we stay with you? The little girl looked at him with puppy eyes while Michael thought about this arrangement. It's indeed better if they stay here, Michael said to himself, and then turned his gaze away from Cindy to Raylene. Make yourself home, Raylene. Yay. Cindy and the kids hopped in joy as he gave Cindy back to her mother. I'll see you guys later. He then turned towards the house and saw Gaia finally making her appearance. Come, let's go meet the elders. He took Gaia and walked towards the direction of a group of 2-story buildings. How long was I cultivating? On their way he asked Gaia. 3 days, you freak of nature. Now give me the pills you promised. Deal's a deal here, you greedy snake. He already bought and stored the pills in the system's storage, so he quickly retrieved the pills and gave them to her. You're drooling. He made fun of her as she looked at the pills like a starved dog looking at a piece of meat. She grabbed the pills in a flash and swallowed them with a huge grin. You're happy? Yes, but don't you have bigger pills? She who is greedy is always in want, he said as he knocked the back of her head. Ouch, you bastard, where did you read that, dumb town? You mean your hometown, asshole? Bitch, two of them fight their way to the elder's place where Michael saw a fancy carriage standing outside. Surrounding the carriage there were a couple of men who stood guard in light blue metal armor. Who are they? Obviously, Michael knew that neither the carriage nor the guards belonged to the Sunrise sect because the guards and the carriage looked so distinct compared to the worn-out buildings and decayed structures of the sect. An alchemist's carriage, Gaia said and pointed at a symbol of 2 green lives in a silver circle etched onto the carriage's side. The guards gave them an indifferent look when they saw Michael and Gaia as the two of them entered the building to see what's happening inside. This hall they were in was mainly used to receive distinguished guests. Undoubtedly the one inside was a distinguished guest. As Michael reached inside, he saw a middle-aged man sitting in the hall and drinking tea leisurely. He seemed wealthy because of the high-quality robes, the big red gem on his finger, and the rich aura he was radiating. His cultivation was however not very higher as he was just at the body-strengthening stage level 2. Lord Hart. Michael was surprised to see the elders calling him as Lord and sitting on the edge of their chairs while the silver-haired man was sitting before them like he owned the place. The reason for this was very simple. He was a 2-star alchemist and could concoct pills with 15 to 30% purity. In this world, cultivators were everywhere. But possessing special skills such as alchemical skills and reaching the 2-star level was not common. Even if one's cultivation realm was high, it was no guarantee that one would possess special abilities, but with special abilities, it would serve well the path of cultivation. Also, just possessing this profession would definitely heighten one's status and fame. Lord Hart, we need your help to concoct a heart-healing pill this time. You don't need to worry regarding the price. Sect leader Claire walked over with a smile. Her attitude was very humble. The other 3 elders including Elder Mark and Miles were keeping a small smile on their faces. Hearing Claire, Hart said to them indifferently, heart-healing pills are not so easy to concoct, and the cost is not low either. I have several conditions for this. If you don't comply, the deal is off. What conditions? Claire asked. As long as it is within our power, we will agree. Actually, my conditions are very simple. The first condition is to let my students use your herbal garden, he said. Okay, no problem. She thought quite hard about it, but considering their herbal garden had almost dried out and only had a few herbs growing there, she agreed to let them use the remaining herbs. The second condition, the price of the ingredients for the pills are expensive. Since you agreed to my first condition, we can continue the negotiation. As for the materials for concocting the pills, my students will buy them but you need to pay for them. No problem on that as well. The price of the ingredients is obviously expensive, but I do not know how much you need. Not too much. With my fee 5,000 gold coins is enough, he casually stated an astonishing price. After they heard it, they were stunned. 5,000 gold, this was too expensive. For a declined sect like theirs, 5,000 gold coins were not something they could give just like that. Chapter 40, this price. Can you lower it a little? Claire said embarrassedly. Sunrise Sect was not a big organization and it was declined to the point that they would have closed the doors if it wasn't for Michael. As for the 5,000 gold coins, it was not that they didn't have that much money, but using that much at once would hinder the functional operation. This is the lowest price I can offer, Sect Leader Claire. I believe you will understand the price of the required ingredients for the pills and the fee of a 2-star alchemist. Buying the pills outside will at least cost you 600 to 700 per pill. Compared to that, the price I offer is way cheaper. They were all well aware of their current condition of treasury, but they needed those heart-healing pills as soon as possible, so they could only stomach the high rate and accept the price that he asked. Well then, if that is the price you want. Claire sighed and nodded. Idiots, he's clearly ripping them off. Gaia leisurely leaned on the wall and said, looking at the elders and Claire. How come? You didn't notice? Gaia asked him with a slightly surprised face as he shook his head. He's a 2-star alchemist yet, the price he asked is the price of a 3-star alchemist. And 5,000 gold coins are for pills with 45% purity, which is a maximum level a 3-star alchemist could reach. Michael knew about the star levels of special abilities because Abras learned about that stuff, but when Michael searched his brain for the prices, he realized that weird enough, Abras didn't know about the prices of the pills. Do you know about the current rate for pills here? Of course I knew. Pills concocted by 1-star alchemist is 100 to 200 gold coins. 2-star alchemist 200 to 1,000, 3-star alchemist is 1,000 to 500. She paused for a second and recollected the price for the remaining alchemist levels. 4-star alchemist pills will be 500 to 900 gold coins. As for the 5-star alchemist, they would often take artifacts and valuable treasures as a payment rather than gold coins, but if you want to buy a pill concocted by 5-star alchemist with gold coins, the price will start at 10,000 inch. What about 6-star alchemists? He asked casually, even though according to Abras' memories, 6-star alchemists were a myth as no one could surpass the purity level 90%. But because Abras had little to no contact or knew about the outside world, he decided to ask Gaia, who seemed to know everything about this world, unlike him or Abras. Don't be stupid, human, 6-star alchemist doesn't exist, it's a myth. He matched the prices Gaia described and the star level information in his mind when Hart stated his last condition. My final condition is, and this is the important one. Hart's voice trailed as the elders and sect leader Claire curiously looked at him. What is it? Her eyebrow wrinkled as this guy was really putting a lot of conditions. I fell in love with someone here, so I wonder if she can become my concubine. If she says yes, I will concoct the pills for free. The elder's expression changed drastically upon hearing his last condition. This was obviously a sweet deal. Concubines were basically mistresses, and it was usual for a man who was rich and had high status in the society to have many concubines. I did not expect Lord Hart to make this request. As long as she accepts to be your concubine, we do not object, Elder Mark said. Concubine my ass, he only wants to have sex with the girl and cast her aside. I know his type. Michael sensed a tinge of disgust in her tone as he curiously looked at Hart to see who that girl is. I agree with Elder Mark, as long as she accepts to be your concubine, I have no problem, but who is your choice? Claire asked with patience. It's you, sect leader Claire, I want you to be my concubine, Hart said with a smile. I knew it. Gaia almost shouted when she heard him as Michael too raised his brows in surprise. He didn't intervene as he wanted to hear Claire's answer, but he entered into the system's interface to turn the situation in his favor. System, tell me you have a way to make me an alchemist. The system recommends the host to buy the Book of Alchemist in the system store. If I buy that, what star level would I reach? The host will be able to concoct pills and potions with the purity level 90%. So I will become a 5-star alchemist. Wonderful. Now give me the bad news. How much is it? 20,000 badass points only? He almost spat out blood when he heard the system say only, with a tone of a salesperson in the TV ads. However, if he could upgrade the banker skill to the next level, he could earn 5,000 points, converting 1 million gold coins. And after hearing what Gaia said, a 5-star alchemist could easily earn more than 1 million gold coins. Yet, he didn't have enough badass points to buy the book and upgrade the banker skill to the next level. If the host wish, the system can give a loan to the host with an interest rate of 10%. The host can settle the loan whenever he could, but the system would increase the interest rate by 5% every 10 months. You can do that? Never mind, he'll take the load. Upgrade my banker skill to level 2 and buy the Book of Alchemist. He ordered the system and prepared himself to endure the sharp pain that would appear in his mind every time he buys a new skill. Just as he expected, he experienced a sharp tingling pain in his brain. He etched the skill of alchemy into his brain cells as he slowly became a 5-star alchemist. And when the pain disappeared, he felt like he could concoct pills as easy as writing and reading. I'm going to be so op with my sweet system. He laughed heartily and praised the system. Normal people had to learn and work extremely hard to master the alchemy skills, but he became a 5-star alchemist in a few seconds. Why are you smiling? He still had a grin on his face when he exited the system, and seeing the smile on his face, Gaia asked. On the other side, Claire's body went rigid after Hart's request. Her sect only had girls who belonged to poor families, so if any one of those girls got an offer like this, their life status would be catapulted to the next level. However, she was a born noble and a sect leader. For her to be a concubine, it would be a disgrace to her family and herself. No, I'm sorry Lord Hart, but I can't comply with your request. Claire looked at him and immediately shook her head to refuse. After this refusal, Hart's face was twisted to a frown. He considered himself a talented alchemist and his future achievements were limitless. He did not expect that she, a sect leader of a declined sect, did not even consider his proposal and straight up refused him. I am a 2-star alchemist. You'll have a better life as my concubine than as a sect leader of this decayed sect. I will reach the 3-star in the future. His eyes were full of resentment. Thank you for your kindness, Lord Hart, but I don't want to be anyone's concubine. I hope you can understand that, and am sure there are other women who would be willing to be your concubine. Even though her sect was declined, it was still her sect, and she resented him for calling her sect decayed. But still, she wouldn't show her true emotions as they needed the heart-healing pills. Because of that, she felt extremely helpless, and the helplessness in her heart made her eyes well up. Humph, my maids are in a better situation than you, yet you dare to reject me. Hart punched the sofa he was sitting on and looked at Claire coldly. If you don't want to be my concubine, then forget the pills. Lord Hart, please sit down, Elder Mark hurriedly said and tried to calm Hart down, but Hart threw the tea on Elder Mark's face in anger. How dare you? Claire's face turned red in anger as she shouted, I addressed you Lord as a form of respect. I didn't expect you to be this arrogant. I've had enough. Leave before I throw you out. She was only a body refining stage level 5 cultivator, yet when she became angry, an intimidating aura radiated from her which surprised both Gaia and Michael. Gaia felt like the reason for Claire to act so mighty because she noticed Ghost standing in the hall who had killed a body strengthening stage level 2 cultivator before. Chapter 41, You Bitch. Hart's anger erupted like a volcano as he raised his hand to slap Claire when he saw a bolt of lightning fly between his hand and Claire's face. That's enough, haven't you heard of a phrase, no means no? The bolts of lightning danced around his fingers as he made a grand entrance to the scene. Sect leader Claire, I can concoct the heart-healing pills in my sleep, you don't need him. The moment he finished his sentence, they all froze and stared at Ghost. Even Gaia looked at him with disbelief at first. Being an alchemist was not something one can do overnight or not as easy as cultivating. One needed to be born with a special talent to comprehend the alchemy knowledge, and even with talent and resources, it was extremely hard to concoct a pill or brew a potion without practicing and learning for decades. So when a 19-year-old youngster spoke these words, they were shocked beyond words. I thought he stole those magic healing pills. Is he really an alchemist? Gaia on the other hand didn't think that he's boasting but actually confused hearing him. Brat, who are you? Hart sneered and said, You retarded trash, you think you can concoct pills? He's dead. Gaia had already marked Hart as a dead body, but surprisingly he seemed calm and cool. Yes, I think I can concoct the heart-healing pills better than you. Any time of the day. Hart's eyes were full of disdain, and he felt that he was being provoked. He did not expect to be humiliated too after being rejected by Claire. If you can't, what then? Shall warm my bed tonight, how is that? Just like Gaia said, his real intention came to light as he sneered. She is not a tool nor a bet, he said coldly. If I can't concoct a pill, I will kill myself, how is that? If he couldn't concoct a pill even after the system etched everything about alchemy into his brain, he did deserve to die, but Michael knew that he could easily beat him. Ghost. Elders and Claire tried to intervene, but he stopped them with a wave of his hand. Kill yourself. Hart smirked and said with a smile, All right. If you are willing to go that far. It's a deal. Begin immediately. If you fail, then kill yourself, trash like you doesn't deserve to live anyways. If you can't do it, I'll kill you myself. But what if you lose? Lose? Lose to you? If you concoct a pill with 1% higher purity than mine, it'll run around the kingdom naked. Gross, Gaia exclaimed as Michael shook his head. Who wants to see you naked? If I beat you, I'll kill you, how about that? There was a flash of hesitation in Hart's eyes, but looking at Ghost from head to toe for a second, he decided to bet his life because there was no way a kid like him could concoct a pill with higher purity than him. No problem. Hart nodded as Michael took a quill and paper from the desk before him and wrote all the ingredients needed for the pill. Gaia, I'll need everything in this list. They all looked dumbfounded in this scene, especially the three elders who still couldn't believe that he's an alchemist. Gaia took the list and a pouch of gold coins, dumbfounded as Hart also called one of his guards and gave the list. Obviously this was just plain impossible. Hart was 40 years old and he was still at this level. It was almost unbelievable if Ghost could actually do this. Taking the list, Gaia ran outside with eyes full of excitement to see whether he's really an alchemist or not. In her mind, if he was an alchemist as he was claiming, she would be one step closer to know the secrets behind how he got the pills that could heal her meridians. Jack, you little shit, where are you? They were standing in awkward silence hearing Gaia's shout outside. Michael motioned sect leader Claire to lead the way, and after following Claire, everyone came to the temporary room, which was originally built for Hart to concoct pills in peace. After 30 minutes or so, Gaia and the guards entered the room carrying the ingredients needed to concoct the pills. During this time, the elders and sect leader Claire didn't ask a question to Michael because he pretended to be in meditation. He knew that if he stood there waiting for Gaia, they would ask annoying questions as he would then need to say something to assure them. It was easier for him to show them what he could do than tell them. Ghost, I brought everything you asked. Gaia gave the herbs to Michael and a furnace. You forgot to write furnace here. I don't need one. Hart and everyone in the hall was dumbstruck by what he said. You idiot, how do you plan to concoct the pill without a furnace? Hart sneered, his eyes and face showed nothing but disdain towards Michael. Furnace is for amateurs, I'm more of a legend when it comes to alchemy, so shameless. Hart gave a death stare and sat on the floor crossed legs to start the process. Human, I bought you an extra badge of herbs in case you mess it up, Gaia whispered without anyone noticing before Michael slipped a tiny vial into Gaia's hands. Slip this into the guards' drinks. Is this what I think it is? Gaia asked with an evil grin as Michael nodded. Let's start, shall we? Hart gave a sneer as an answer, and under the curious and worried eyes of elders, Michael conjured flames in one hand and took the herbs in the other. Alongside Michael, Hart flicked his wrist as a furnace was about the size of a clay pot appeared before him. The furnace had many strange inscriptions written all around it and gave off an extremely mysterious feeling. Sect leader Claire, we should stay back, Elder Mark exclaimed as the other two elders agreed with him and took a few steps back from Michael. Indeed, pill concocting was not a joking matter but an extremely difficult process. The main difficulty of concocting pills was controlling the fire. That was why almost every alchemist would use an alchemy furnace so they could adjust the heat going to the pill through the furnace. However, Michael had no need for a furnace because the system made him extremely talented in controlling the fire, so until he reached the 6-star level where the system required him to buy a legendary furnace and a mythical fire if he wanted to concoct legendary pills. The reason for the elders to step back was if he did lose control of the fire, he might cause an entire batch of pills to go to waste. Or even worse, he might cause the furnace to explode. Should the furnace explode, they wanted to save Sect Claire and themselves from getting burnt. If I were you, I would save myself the embarrassment and run away, brat. He cast a shield around himself and mocked Michael. If I were you, I would start begging because I'm going to kill you painfully because of your mouth. Let's see who kills whom. Sect leader Claire, how many pills do you need? I can concoct 4 heart healing pills with these herbs. Oh? 4? 4 is enough. She was overwhelmed by shock as she barely managed to speak these words. He nodded and did something that made everyone in the hall almost faint. He threw all the herbs into the fire directly while Hart was still refining the first herb with utmost caution. Elders were at a loss for words. Don't tell me that your pill refining process is done so carelessly? Do you just empty the ingredients into the furnace and hope for the best? Even though they were not trained alchemists, they knew that each herb had a different temperature point where they would release its medicinal qualities, but everyone around him was stumped. Was there really such a method? This method had been lost a long time ago and is now a lost art. Many 5-star alchemists had tried to regain this method, but wasted many ingredients in their failed pursuit and failed to accomplish anything. Elder Miles spoke out gravely in a low-pitched voice. Lost art? I have a system. With the system, I'm going to play God in this world. Just a mere pill refining art, how can it ever pose a challenge to me? Michael's narcissistic self put its head out in his mind and he wanted to speak these words loudly, but he controlled himself and pretended not to hear Elder Mark. If he's unable to exert absolute control over the fire, it will result in an explosion big enough to kill him again. Elder Miles whispered this to his colleagues. Don't worry, Elder Miles, I can brew a potion or concoct a pill with a 100% success rate, Michael casually replied to Elder Miles. No. Concentrate on controlling the fire, Elder Miles shouted and jumped back when he heard him talking as he feared that he would lose control of the fire and cause an explosion. I want to see how long you can keep this farce up. At this moment, Hart finally refined his first herb and responded to Michael. Michael completely ignored him and sensed the herbs were almost finished refining. Elder Miles, do you think he could do it? The third elder, who's called Reiner, asked Elder Miles, as only Elder Miles had some experience in teaching alchemy. He's a freak, we don't know what he's capable of. Look at his cultivation level. He just reached the body refining stage level 1 when we met him, but look at him now, he reached level 5 in just 2 days. We can't question his abilities now. For the sake of our sect leader, he must best heart at this, said Elder Mark. Quit whining, you oldies, he wouldn't have put his life on the line if he wasn't sure of his abilities. Elders turned around to see Gaia walking towards them proudly like she had done something fabulous. The 2 elders and Claire was shocked to hear her tone, but Elder Mark sighed. Ignore her manners, this girl is a friend of Ghost. During the conversation, Hart finished refining the second herb and had only 6 more to refine. Haha, how long are you going to make a fool out of yourself? Throwing all the herbs at once in the fire? You really are dumb. Even if you want to pretend, at least make it believable. Hart pointed at Michael's behavior and laughed. Watch this. This time Michael sneered as he put his hand above the fire. Then when he lifted his hand, one by one colorful shiny beads floated up from the fire. There were 8 beads floating above the fire, and soon after, he started merging the beads into one fist-sized ball. This is impossible. To refine all the herbs at once, you need absolute control over the fire. This is absolutely impossible. Hart's face lost all of its colors and turned pale. He thought Michael would fail, but he refined all the 8 herbs even before Hart could refine 3 herbs. Also, the beads floating above Michael's fire were shiner and purer than the 2 beads before him. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points. The sweet notification bell sound started to ring inside his mind, making him grin. Chapter 42, System, he'll get experience points for Gaia's killings too? Yes, the host will receive experience points for killings of host subordinates. How many points do I need to heal her? 3,000 points to repair her meridians, 20,000 points to restore her previous cultivation level. The system recommends the host to heal her again when the subordinate reach at least 75% loyalty level. I know that system now tells me what was her original cultivation level, before they crippled her. Core formation stage level 7, whoa. She was a prodigy? Now I understand why she acts so arrogant and overbearing. Never mind for now, I'll keep giving her the pills to keep her on a leash and increase her loyalty. When he exited the system, he raised his hands as the big silver beads split into 4 small fist-sized pills. Hart saw this scene and began to tremble, especially when he saw the extremely pure pills. 90% purity? Holy shit. Just as the words escaped Gaia's mouth, the elders, sect leader Claire, and Hart felt like they were being struck by lightning. The first two had never seen a pill concocted by a 5-star alchemist, but Gaia had consumed many of those to enhance her cultivation. After all, she was a princess. Impossible. Hart mumbled and stumbled back clumsily as 3 pills floated into sect leader's hand and 1 floated towards Hart. At this moment, the 3 elders succumbed to silence. Although they hadn't seen pills with this much purity, they knew that the pills in Claire's hands were superior in quality, as the pills radiated an extremely sweet fragrance and arch energy. The elders start to murmur behind him. He's a 5-star alchemist? They were stunned to disbelief. The whole continent had only a handful of 5-star alchemists. Finding them was not an easy task, and even if they found one, their services would not come cheap. Before this, they only thought of him as a genius, but now, they considered him as a youngster blessed by the gods themselves. If he could reach this level at a young age, then that meant his future achievements would be countless. Not only he cultivated at a monstrous speed but was also a 5-star alchemist. How did he learn all this? They couldn't help but look at Gaia after staring at Michael. They thought Gaia could somehow explain his origins, but she quickly shrugged. Don't look at me, I didn't know he's a freaking 5-star alchemist. But you are his friend? Elder Mark asked. In fact, it was not only them, but even Gaia was completely stunned. Alchemy was not easy, and that was a completely different challenge than cultivation. She thought the reason for his monstrous cultivation speed was because he had a special body type, but now she realized he has more secrets than she assumed. Bastard kept this as a secret. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Several ding sounds again rang inside his head. A puny little 2-star alchemist. Look, this is how the pill concocts by me a 5-star alchemist would look like, Michael said with a smirk as he slowly walked towards Hart, terrorizing him. As Michael took a step forward, Hart took a step backward in shock and despair. The 3 elders were stunned, but slowly their minds began to jump in joy. They didn't need to use Hart's service any longer. Ghost could be his replacement, and of course he might not charge for his service, thus reducing the cost they needed to concoct heart healing pills for Elder Sandra. Sunrise Sect now not only had the #1 genius of the younger generation as their disciple, but also a 5-star alchemist. This was just too good to be true. Gaia immediately grabbed 1 pill from Claire's hands and inspected it. After a second she looked at the elders and Claire. Yes, this pill is 90% pure, I'm sure. No. Hart was furious, looking at Michael with full of hatred in his eyes. I didn't expect you to really concoct pills. You all deceived me by hiding the fact that you have an alchemist. You should have thought this before accepting the challenge, he sneered. Now, I'm going to kill you, as I said before, painfully. How could he let him live after Hart repeatedly insulted him? Hart's actions earlier couldn't be forgiven easily in his eyes, ha. Suddenly Hart stopped walking backward and laughed maniacally. Don't get ahead of yourself. I don't know what stunt you just pulled with the pills. But I know you can't kill me, you're just a body refining cultivator. I'm at the fucking body strengthening stage, I can crush you, guards. Hart stood there expecting his guards to arrive at any second with a wicked smile on his face. Yet, there was no one coming inside the hall as Hart shouted again. Guards. They are not coming, asshole. Gaia stepped forward and stood beside Michael fiddling with the knife he gave her. When Hart looked at the knife, his heart skipped a beat as he saw the fresh bloodstains on the blade. "What did you do?" "A seductive smile and few flirty lines, that was all it took to make your guards drink my special tea." The little vial Michael gave her before he started concocting pills was the remaining paralyzing potion in his system storage. Because of his responsive shield, he didn't need to fear anyone under body strengthening stage level 2, but those guards were at level 3 and 4, which would possess a threat to Michael if he fought them head-on. So, Michael used Gaia to paralyze them and kill them easily. "Why did you kill one guard?" Michael asked Gaia, ignoring Hart for a moment. "Fucker tried to get all touchy, so I stabbed him in the face after paralyzing him. Now dibs on killing this asshole." "No, he's mine." Michael conjured the bolts of lightning as elders watched the scene dumbstruck. Especially what Gaia did and trying to do stunned them, considering she's just a mortal girl, yet she was trying to kill Hart herself. "Ah!" Hart screamed and tried to cast a spell before a wave of wind blasted him outside. "Ghost, wait." Sect leader Claire quickly stepped forward and tried to stop him from killing Hart. "See ya, human." Seeing Michael halt his steps, Gaia laughed and ran outside with full of excitement to kill Hart before he steadied himself and cast another spell. "Don't come crying to me when he kicks your ass," Michael shouted at the running figure of Gaia and couldn't help but laugh seeing the snake's craze to kill Hart. "Ghost, let him go, don't kill him." "No, Sect leader Claire, if he doesn't kill Hart now, he would go back to his kingdom and bring reinforcements to take revenge," Elder Miles exclaimed as Michael nodded with a smile. "Elder Miles is right, besides I told him that I would kill him if he failed. I must keep my word, Sect leader. Now if you excuse me, I have an alchemist to kill." As he said, he dashed outside to kill Hart before he escaped from Gaia, who had no ability to cast spells. "What? Let's see you cast spells now, haha." When Michael came outside, Hart was lying on the ground like a statue as Gaia was laughing and kicking him maniacally. "What did you do to me? What happened to him?" The elders and Claire looked confused seeing the guards and Hart's rigid bodies. By looking at the green ooze on the blade in Gaia's hands, he realized that she coated the blade with the paralyzing poison and cut Hart with it, hence he was paralyzed. "Stop playing with the prey, release me." Ignitia. While walking towards Hart, Michael sent a few bolts of lightning to the guards and killed them instantly. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 4 cultivator. The reward is 20,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 3 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. New. The anger in Hart's eyes disappeared and fear clutched his heart after seeing the charcoal bodies of his powerful guards. "You called me a retard, idiot, and trash. Do I look anything like that to you?" Bzzz. The electric humming produced by the lightning bolts around his fingers struck the fear of God in Hart's heart. Then soon after, Gaia twitched her nose and saw a wet circle forming under Hart. "Human, I think he peed." Her laughter fueled Hart's fear and embarrassment as Michael crouched in front of him. He then ran his finger across Hart's face. "Diddle diddle, we are so." The intensity of the lightning bolts increased as Hart felt his face burning. Hart's scream echoed through the mountains and then it was abruptly stopped. Ding. Congrats to the host for killing a body strengthening stage level 2 cultivator. The reward is 15,000 experience points as well as 300 badass points. He's dead? So quickly? Gaia kicked Hart's body and said. The reason for Hart's death was not because of the lightning bolts but overwhelming agony and fear which made his heart stop. Looking at the scene, the elders and Claire trembled in fear. The charming cool youngster seemed like a devil a second ago. He not just killed Hart but actually tortured him to death. What more terrorized them was the fact that he seemed to neither enjoy nor regret killing Hart but rather, he appeared to be cool and calm when killing people. That indicated one thing to them: he killed so many people to the point that killing became like breathing to him. Chapter 43, Use this to dispose of the bodies. Michael retrieved the highly flammable liquid he bought from the system and handed it over to Gaia. And don't forget to take their space rings if they have one. Don't call Jack this time, he said and turned his gaze towards the terrified elders and Claire. Sect leader Claire, elders, those heart-healing pills, who needs them? A sudden sadness emerged in Claire's eyes when he asked. She then sighed, follow us. With Claire leading the way, they arrived at a house adjacent to the building where they met Hart. A couple of girls and boys in orange uniforms respected them when they arrived. Inside the house, he was led to a room that seemed clean and well organized. Also, he immediately smelled a strong medicinal smell. Surprisingly, in the middle of the room, Elder Sandra was laid down in bed, unconscious and really pale. He could immediately sense that this was not something caused by injury but a terminal illness like cancer. However, unlike Earth, he had the ability to concoct pills to cure Elder Sandra. How long has she been like this? The last time I saw her, she was fine. He sat beside Elder Sandra on the bed and observed her condition. She had been like this for the last 3 years. She would only get better when she took a healing pill, but lately the healing pill stopped working. That was why we wanted to give her the heart healing pills. Claire's words made sense, as the heart pills were much effective in healing terminal illness like this better than the normal healing pills. Although you were right to give her healing pills, it only kept the illness from spreading to her whole body, not to cure her. Sect leader Claire, you should have used the heart healing pills in the first place, then the illness would have gone by now. We can still cure her, right? Claire didn't act like a sect leader at the moment, but she seemed like a helpless weak girl who was concerned about a mother figure like Sandra. We can't cure her with heart healing's pills, it's too late. We can slow down the illness. No. It can't be. Tears already started to well up in Claire's eyes as the elders looked worried and shocked. Sect leader Claire, don't cry. I said we can't cure her using the heart healing pills, but we can use another potion to completely cure Elder Sandra. Really? She quickly wiped off the falling tears and asked with delight. Yes, I can brew the potion, no problem at that, but it's hard to get the required herbs and ingredients. Let's wait for my friend. She would know where can we buy and how much the prices are. Are you talking about me? Gaia made a timely entrance to the scene and halted her steps when she saw Elder Sandra's pale body. She doesn't look good. What happened to her? Black bite. This was the terminology they used in this world for cancer, and when she heard the name, her brows went up. Now before you say something, tell me where we can buy these and how much it would cost us? He quickly wrote everything he needed to brew the potion that could cure Elder Sandra. I've never heard of a pill or a potion that could cure black bite. Gaia shrugged as the elders and Claire looked at Michael. That's because no one knew about this potion except me. And what potion is that? Dew of Angel Lotus, Dale for short. None had any idea or never heard of such potion before, including Gaia. So they could neither deny nor confirm the existence of such potion. Petals of green rose, a tooth of a wyvern, siren's blood, virgin dew. The more she read the items on the list, the more she was shocked. And even though the elders or Claire hadn't heard some of the items in the list, looking at Gaia's reaction, they could tell how difficult it would be to get those items. I know places where we can buy these items, but it won't be cheap. You need a small fortune to buy all these. Claire's eyes immediately lit up when she heard that Gaia said she knew the places to find the items, but they darkened shortly afterward hearing the last part. How small? Elder Mark slowly asked, like he was even afraid of asking this question. Something between 400,000 to 500,000 gold coins. What Gaia had said had stunned everyone. Claire's facial expression had turned pale, and her entire body was shivering. Oh my God, I'm going to faint. Elder Reiner lurched aside and held onto the wall to stop his body from falling down. How are we going to get that much? Ghost, please save her. After a few moments of gawking at each other, Claire swallowed the hesitation and came in front of Michael, pleadingly asking. She clutched his hands as tears rolled out of her eyes. Sect leader Claire. This sudden act of her really stunned him. I will brew the potion for Elder Sandra, but I really don't have 500,000 gold coins in my purse. He was no longer sitting beside Elder Sandra but stood up immediately. Claire still didn't let go of his hands while the elders also came closer to him and surrounded him. Sect leader Claire, we can't expect him to have 500,000 gold coins with him. Even if he had, we can't ask him to give it to us. We can plead for a loan from King Breedia. Also, if we can sell the rest of our lands, we may be able to get another 60,000 gold coins. Each elder was speaking their minds, and all of them wanted to save Elder Sandra no matter the cost. This showed Michael the bond they had between them. Still, he didn't have 500,000 gold coins to buy the items, and even if he had, Michael wasn't going to empty his purse for them. Saving the survivors of the Rosewood village was a different thing, as he only had to buy some upgrades which would always be a help to him in the future. He might have helped them if he had hundreds of millions of gold coins, but currently, he only had 75,000 gold coins. Besides, 500,000 gold coins were equal to 2,500 badass points, which were more valuable to him than Elder Sandra's survival. Ding. The base of operation feature unlocked. What the? He heard a ding sound as loud as a church bell inside his head and was instantly taken to system's interface. A new window that he had never seen before in the system appeared before him. The host now can accept the Sunrise Sect as his base of operation. Does the host want the Sunrise Sect to be his base of operation? Wait, what is this base of operations feature? Explain yourself, system, before you ask me to do anything. The base of operations is a similar function to the subordinate feature. The host can acquire a whole organization as his base of operation. What's in it for me? Even though Gaia was not a jackpot, she had proven her worth by giving me some valuable intel, and also she's keeping me entertained. What can a declined place like the Sunrise Sect give me? I've already done them a huge favor by joining them. When the status and legend of the base of operation increase, the host will receive badass points. His objection to making Sunrise Sect his base of operations slightly wavered after he heard the system. Like I received experience points for Gaia's killing? Any actions like killings performed by subordinates can only give the host experience points, not badass points. The base of operation can give the host both experience and badass points. Higher level the base of operation is, more points will be awarded to the host. How many points are we talking about? That depends on the level of the base of operations. He was sure that he felt a tinge of irritation in the robotic voice of the system. The lowest level of the base of operations can give the host 50 badass points and 500 experience points for a week. The highest level? There was no response from the system to his last question as he started to think about making Sunrise Sect his base of operations. Tell me I can have more than one base of operations? Yes, system, why now? I mean, I've been here for 3 days and you've never said anything about making the Sunrise Sect my base of operations. There are 3 main requirements to be met for an organization to be host's base of operation. The organization's survival must depend on the host. Every member of the organization must be weaker than the host. The leader of the organization must be at least have 60% loyalty to the host. It seems me killing Heart left a mark in the young maiden's heart. Hee so easy. Chapter 44. Alright, system, I'll take this risk and accept the Sunrise Sect my first base of operations. Ding. Congratulations to the host. The Sunrise Sect is now the host's base of operation. Base of operation. The Sunrise Sect current leader, Claire Marigold level. 1 debt, 450,000 gold coins. Number of members, 34. Status, declined legend, 0/1000. Crappy old sect. System, what is this legend and what the hell is that debt amount? Legend is a type of evaluation points of the base of operation. The BOP must reach the points limit to upgrade it to the next level. As for your second question, the current leader can give you the answer. The system didn't even wait for him to close the interface but threw him out. Fuck. He cursed the system in his mind and the scene in front of him resumed. Sect leader Claire, elders, I have an idea to get 500,000 gold coins. You do? Elder Mark's face showed a surprised expression. I'm going to create an alchemy enterprise, he calmly said, but in his mind he was excited to create something huge in this world and finally start earning real coins. What's the point of being a 5-star alchemist if he couldn't get rich? Slow your horse, who? Ghost, we need to talk. His excitement was brought to a stop by Gaia's voice as everyone turned their gazes from Michael to Gaia. You are a 5-star alchemist who can concoct pills with 90% purity, what does that tell you? The elders seemed like they had a sudden realization hearing her question, but Michael just proudly grinned. I'm awesome. Gaia rolled her eyes and punched him in the shoulder. It means you are the #1 alchemist among all 4 kingdoms of Elan continent. The grin on his face got even brighter, but the elders looked frightened rather than being delighted about this. After seeing that he had no idea of what she's talking about, Gaia deeply exhaled and said, It means you dethroned the alchemy king Gabriel Keswick. I see your point. Michael realized what she's trying to say and the reason for the elders to be afraid. If he knew that you can concoct pills purer than him, best case scenario, he would just kill you. The worst case scenario is, he would enslave you and make you concoct pills and brew potions while he's reaping the fruits of your work. That's what I would do. Although what she said last shocked them slightly, they had bigger concerns now. Elia is right, Elder Miles sighed and agreed with Gaia. Either way, you're fucked, Ghost. She really worried about his safety, not because she cared for him, but if he died or enslaved, she wouldn't get the magical pills to heal her meridians. So for her sake, she had to do and say everything in her power to keep him safe. I assume you have a solution for this. He understood Gaia enough to know that the reason for her to worry about his safety was to get more pills from him. Although Gabriel can't guarantee 100% success rate of brewing positions concocting pills, his outcomes are 84% pure. So you must not reach 84%. Then you will be second, and I know him, he's too proud to mess with the second, or at least he wouldn't kill or enslave you. You know him, how? Elder Reiner suddenly asked, because even many influential cultivators would try their hardest to get an appointment with Gabriel, let alone Elia, a mortal girl. I mean, I heard about him during my travels, so Ghost, I suggest you aim for something between 60 to 75% purity. She swiftly changed the topic back to Michael before the elders dig too deep into her life. Are you kidding me? 80%, that's the worst I can do. It's mentally and physically impossible for me to concoct or brew anything less pure than that. The elders and Claire opened their mouths to make him lower his level, but after seeing the adamant look on his face, they shut their half-open mouths. It settled then. Elia, tomorrow we'll set up our first shop. Gaia nodded as he turned back to look at Claire. Sect leader Claire, give the heart-healing pills to Elder Sandra. They would stop the black bite from getting worse and make Elder Sandra feel better. I wish we had gold to help you start the shop, Ghost, but... Elder Mark's voice trailed and the other two elders looked a little embarrassed. It's fine, Elder Mark, I can take care of everything. From now on, we'll change our sect's future for the better, he said, and walked away from the scene as Gaia followed him behind, leaving the elders and Claire to worry about Elder Sandra. It took them both a couple of minutes to reach the home given to Michael. Are we in the right place? Gaia tilted her head confused as the house in front of them looked different than what they saw an hour ago. The cobwebs and dust on the windows and wall were nowhere to be found. Little green saplings replaced the dried plants on the lawn. Plus, there was noise coming from the inside along with a mouth-watering aroma of cooking. Did we leave the door open? No shit. Michael walked towards the house when a familiar face came out to greet them both. Young master, young miss. It was none other than Raylene, and she had 2 glasses of lemon juice on a tray. Thank you for cleaning the place, Raylene. It's the least I can do for you, young master. I should have told you before taking the liberty of cleaning the place. Raylene smiled as Michael took the glass and drank it before scanning the drink, just in case. Gulp. Considering the lemons she used to make the drink was bought from the shop and had arch energy infused at the molecular level of the lemons, the juice was rich in fragrance and taste. Looking at Michael gulping the drink, Gaia grabbed the second cup and chugged it before he drank it himself. That was refreshing. Raylene, how would you like to earn some gold coins? Bastard is going for it. The smile on Raylene's face froze hearing him while Gaia giggled inside, having some nasty dirty thoughts, because what can the woman actually do to earn some gold coins rather than pleasing him physically? After all, he was a youth and Raylene was a good-looking woman. Young master. Raylene's body trembled as Michael quickly realized that she's thinking something else. Soon, I'm planning to open up a few shops, and I'd like you to come and work for me as a cook, Raylene. Oh? Raylene let out a short squeal and deeply exhaled as Gaia frowned. Let me know what you think later, Raylene. Yes, young master, I will work for you. Raylene was relieved, realizing that he's not going to ask her to be his mistress, as it was not unusual for a powerful youngster like him to have many mistresses. Good, now go and take care of Cindy. We'll eat later. Raylene nodded and ran back inside the house to put the tray and glasses back. A few minutes after Raylene left, Gaia and Michael plunged into the comfy sofa to discuss their plans for tomorrow. Are you going to tell me? Gaia asked skeptically. Tell you what? What made you suddenly change your mind and help that old woman? I saw you human. You would have brewed the potion to cure the old woman for free, but you had no intention to buy the items yourself at first. But I saw you change your mind in a few seconds, so I'll ask again, what made you change your mind in those few seconds? Chapter 45. Can't you believe that I'm a good guy? He laughed it off as she rolled her eyes. You're far from a good guy, human. I know you're kind, the kind who do good here and there when there's no harm but wouldn't raise a finger if you have to lose something or face serious consequences. You're just a borderline villain, human, not a good guy as you made those old bastards believe, Gaia said without a doubt and accurately identified his personality. She and he had more similarities than they liked to admit. Why do you care anyway? Although I hate to admit it, my survival depends on you and the pills you have. Therefore I don't want you to get killed trying to play hero. You really want to know the answer? He laid back on the couch and asked. Yes. First answer my question, what do you really want in your life? She was slightly taken back by surprise, but she knew that she had to answer him if she wants an answer from him. Me? I want the throne of Nagaland. Let's just say you will get the throne, then what? She didn't know where he's going with this, but she decided to play along with him. Then I will rule Nagaland for a couple of decades and head to the Lonely Mountains to reach higher levels in cultivation. The Lonely Mountain was a place where cultivators head towards to enter secluded cultivation for decades or even centuries. The harsh cold environment of the mountain would push the cultivators to their limit and make them break through to the higher levels of cultivation. Of course, many would die in the cold mountains, and only cold-hearted as well as talented cultivators would choose to go to the mountain, leaving all the ties to the outside world such as wealth, social status, etc. In the world of cultivation, the higher one's cultivation level, the higher the lifespan. Hence many powerful cultivators had seen their loved ones die with time, but they will continue to live because of their cultivation level. This often made them sever ties with the outside world and lose their interest in mortal pleasures such as sex, money and power after a point, and would fully focus on reaching immortality to explore the universe outside. Do you know what I want to do with my life? I want to rule this world, control everything, enjoy everything that this world has to offer. His words expressed his ambition and startled Gaia. Don't be a silly human, you have talent. If you enter the lonely mountain and cultivate for a couple of centuries, you will reach immortality. Michael snickered. What's the point of immortality if I can't even enjoy simple pleasures? I'd rather live 50 years enjoying my life than sitting in a cold cave cultivating in the hope of reaching immortality, with the system as his secret companion. Michael had the resolution in his mind to reach immortality, but unlike typical cultivators, he was neither going to sever his ties to the outside world nor stop enjoying the worldly pleasures. So I would need a place suitable for a man like me. That place is the Sunrise Sect. You can think of this place as a place from where I would start to control the rest of the world. You are serious? She asked with a shaky voice in shock. If these words had been spoken by someone else, she would have laughed her ass off, but when it came to him, she couldn't neglect anything. Yet, she now had more questions than answers. Tell me this, why choose this place? In the big sects, I'd just been another prodigy, another feather in their hat, but here? He didn't finish his sentence but laid back and put his leg on the other and sat like a king. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. If you help me achieve my dreams, it'll not only heal you and get you the Nagaland throne you long for, but also assist you to reach immortality. Big words coming from a guy who's just at the body refining stage. A few days ago, you thought you had no chance of reviving your broken meridians, but I proved you wrong. A few minutes ago, you thought there isn't anyone who could reach 90% purity in alchemy. Again, I proved you wrong. So tell me, Gaia, you really think I can't do everything that I said I can? She knew he was right about everything, and deep down, she had already started to believe that he's going to turn this world upside down. Therefore she decided to stick with him and help him along while reaping some sweet rewards like the pills that can heal her meridians, as well as pills and potions he would brew with 90% purity which would help her in cultivation. First you have to help me out here, human. Give me some pills to get my cultivation back, then I can really help you. You know, get my juice back. She clenched her fist and punched the air frantically. Her actions, however, not surprised him the least, as he expected her to ask for more healing pills. He wanted her to ask for more pills so he could put his plan of making her loyal to him in motion. First, I need to check your meridians, he lied with a straight face and controlled his urge to laugh. How are you going to do that? Seeing him stand up and coming closer to her, she moved back on the couch and asked. Her face had a mix of skepticism and doubt. Turn back and cough. Ha! Do as I say, turn back and cough. She stared at him for a couple of seconds, confused at the point why is he asking her to do that, but she turned around and coughed as he said. Cough. Cough, now breathe in and breathe out. Hey. She wiggled and shouted when she felt his hand on her back. Don't be a baby, do you want me to check your meridians or what? He chuckled inside and said. Just get it over with quickly, and FY, the last fucker who tried to touch me ended up being burned alive. He ignored her and ran his hand around her back for a few more seconds before letting it go. System, how many pills do I have to give her to heal her meridians? 50 pills? Do you have a less effective pill? I want her to believe that I can heal her, but I don't want to heal her before she becomes more loyal to me. Cheap tier revitalizing pills? Great, how much? 500 pill bottle is 500 badass points. The pill would temporarily enable her to feel her meridians and create an illusion of repairing the meridians. That should do the trick. The system ill by the bottle, exiting the system. He sighed as Gaia's face quickly turned gloomy. What is it? I can still be cured, right? He also put his serious face and said, yes, but your meridians are still in bad shape. We need to carefully treat your meridians. Any small error would permanently destroy them and kill you. Fuck. Tell me you and your pills can fix this. Her hands shivered and her face lost all its color in terror. This was the first time he had seen her this much terrified. I thought my pills alone can cure you eventually, but now that I took a closer look, I realized that I have to concoct another batch of pills, a different one than what I previously gave you. It's very difficult to concoct the new pills. He made his voice sound worried, and when she looked at his face, Her fear grew even more as she tightly clenched his hands. "Human, please heal me. I don't want to be crippled forever," she pleaded with him. "Don't worry, I'll do my best to heal you. After all, you're my assistant, aren't you?" "Yes, I am." "You can't let your assistant die." She vigorously shook her head up and down and let out a wide smile. "All right, I have to check you every week and give you the newly concocted pills. Remember, you must only take 2 pills a week, so I will only give you 2 pills. If you do everything I say, you will be able to cultivate in a year. Try to do anything behind my back, I will throw your ass out and you'll stay a cripple for all your life. Do you understand?" Chapter 46 Subordinate, Gaia Cultivation Level, None Race, Demi-Human Naga Race. Current Skills, None Status, Merdine's repaired 10% loyalty towards the host, 25%. Look at that, she became 25% loyal to me. He started at the subordinate interface, and looking at the increased percentage he knew that his plan was working. System, open my status window. Host, Michael. Cultivation Level, Body Refining Stage Level 5. Experience Points, 65,000/300000 Badass Points, 7,000 Skills and Spells, Wind Blast LVL2 Responsive Shield LVL2 Environment Scanning LVL1 Ignitia, LVL1 Lightning Dash, LVL1 Energy Devover, LVL1 Occupation, Disciple of Sunrise Sect. Status, Healthy Goals, Control the World Utility Function, Banker LVL2, Ratio 1000 Gold Coins, 5 Badass Points, Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist. Subordinates, Gaia Loyalty, Level 25%, Base of Operation, Sunrise Sect. Looks like my goal has changed. Previously his goal was be the strongest predator in the world, and now it changed to control the world. Obviously one had to be the strongest to control the world. So as his first step to control the world, he decided to set up an empire of pill businesses to create a steady income flow. At the current level of the system he could turn gold coins into badass points, but not the other way around. Since he couldn't use badass points anywhere except in the system and gold coins were the universal currency in this world, he chose to earn himself some coins. With a rough plan in his mind, he exited the system and saw Gaia was licking the porridge bowl clean. "Don't eat the bowl, fuck you," she cursed as she kept picking up the rice grains on the bottom of the bowl and put them into her mouth. "Come on, let's go. We need to choose a suitable place to set up my shop." "But I only ate 3 bowls." Yes, she ate 3 bowls of porridge and showed Michael that she has a pretty big appetite. She wouldn't have a need to eat this much if she could cultivate, as the arch energy would keep her body fed, but it wasn't the case. Thus she had to eat a lot to keep her body functioning. Also, Raylene's cooking talents and the arch energy-infused ingredients that Michael bought from the shop increased the taste of the food several-fold. "If you keep eating like this, you're going to be fat." The moment these words escaped his mouth, the food in Gaia's mouth also came out as she coughed up. "What did you say?" He could see her face turning red in anger and realized that even in this world, girls didn't like to be called fat. "You heard me." One could see the puffs of smoke coming out of her ears and nostrils if they looked closer, but suddenly she began to laugh. "Ha!" A sudden laughter surprised him. "All right, I'll bite. Why are you laughing?" She still continued to laugh, and after a few seconds she stopped and looked at him. "Even with all your talents, because of your mouth, you're going to end up dying as a virgin." She paused for a moment and then said, "Unless you pay for a girl to do you." "Ha, ha." Now this time, Gaia was surprised to see him burst into laughter. "Why are you laughing?" "It's just, even if you pay, no one would do you, ugly." "Ha, ha, great comeback, ha." Both of their laughter echoed through the house and both felt refreshing to laugh like this after a long time. Michael and Gaia finished their supper and came outside of the house when the sun reached the middle of the sky. Because the sect had only a few disciples, the mountain seemed lonely. "How far is this, Bradford?" "If we start walking now, we'll reach Bradford in 6 or 7 hours. Next option, we go to River Town, which we can reach in 30 minutes using your speedy spell. From there we can rent a Pegasus and fly to Bradford in 2 hours. Flying on a Pegasus, cool." He was barely able to contain his excitement from showing on his face when he heard the words Pegasus and fly. Although he flew in airplanes countless times, how could that be compared to actually flying on a Pegasus, the white feathery horses? "Let's go." He was about to take Gaia's hand and use the lightning dash when he saw 2 familiar faces walking towards them. The 2 familiar faces were none other than Daniel and Ricky, the 2 guards Michael met in River Town. They looked rather tired and drenched in sweat as their light brown clothes turned into dark brown because of their sweat. "Young Master Ghost, why are you guys here?" This was the second time he asked the question today, as both Daniel, the older guard, and Ricky, the younger one, breathed heavily. "Young Master, we came to make sure Mrs. Agner and the children reached here safely and ask whether they need anything from River Town. Daniel said while Ricky stared at Gaia as he had never seen a girl in his life before. Seriously? Gaia questioned Ricky with an annoyed voice as he didn't even try to hide the way he was looking at her. Michael had no intention to stop Ricky as even with the mask on to change her face, she looked pretty, hence, it was natural for a youngster like Ricky to be mesmerized at her beauty. Ricky? Daniel pinched Ricky and brought him back from his stupefied state. It's nice of you two to do that, but don't you guys have to be at the gates all the time? Daniel sighed and shook his head. The higher-ups transferred us, young Master Ghost. We are going to Larton today. Larton? What did you two do to deserve that? Gaia chuckled sadistically and raised Michael's curiosity. According to Abra's memories, Larton was a desert of Kingdom Breedia that had a lesser population. By looking at her sadistic laughter and terrified face of Daniel, he could understand how bad is Larton. If Larton is that bad, can't you guys ask your higher-ups to reconsider? Besides, why are they transferring you? Daniel seemed like he was hiding something as Michael turned his gaze towards Ricky, who's more talkative than Daniel. It's a punishment, young Master Ghost, as expected. Ricky talked and his tone had a tinge of anger. Punishment? What did you do? It's because of what we did not do, young Master. The letter we received from the higher-ups stated that we should have stopped you from burning Rapley alive at the gates. Michael frowned after hearing Ricky complain. Also, they said we won't get any promotion in the near future. You really fucked the lives of these two ghosts. Weaklings like them wouldn't survive much longer in Larton. If the beasts and poisonous creatures didn't kill them, the scorching sun would. Gaia loved to pour hot oil into the guards' wounds by describing the worst in Larton, and Michael slightly felt guilty for these two. But soon he realized that he could use these two as his henchmen. Gaia was obviously not a person who would run errands for him, and he couldn't use Jack always. Daniel and Ricky seemed like good men and perfect henchmen material. Fuck your higher-ups, how much salary you guys are getting? His question shocked Ricky and Daniel. 120 gold coins, per month? Yeah, they wish it's per year. Human. Gaia snickered and said, throw away your jobs, come work for me. I'll pay you what you get in a year for a month. Before Daniel and Ricky could respond, he retrieved 2 pouches and threw them to the 2 guards. This is your hiring bonus. From now on, you two work for me. Ricky and Daniel trembled in surprise and shock. Just by feeling the weight of the pouch in their hands, they could tell that there are more than 100 gold coins inside. Ricky was the first to fall down to the ground and hug Michael's leg. Fuck those old bastards in the capital. I'll work for you, young Master Ghost. After seeing Michael's generosity and their monthly salary under him, Daniel also knelt down and shed tears of joy. Alright, get up you two. Be loyal to me and you'll know what it's like to be rich. Alright, character introductions and fillers are over. Upcoming chapters will be fast-paced, action-filled, and fun. Chapter 47, So Cool. At the moment, Michael was flying on a Pegasus behind Gaia. Because of Gaia's previous experience flying the Pegasus, she rode it while Michael sat behind. But that didn't stop him from being extremely happy. His one hand was on Gaia's shoulder to maintain his balance, while with the other hand, he constantly tried to grab the fluffy clouds, even though he knew clouds are made of water vapor and dust particles in the sky. For God's sake, human, you can't catch the clouds. You're going to fall and die if you keep trying, she screamed and elbowed him in the gut. Hey Gaia, because of the wind resistance he had to shout. How much does this Pegasus cost? I need one. Pegasus were horses with wings, and the most common color of these noble creatures was pure white. They were intelligent creatures that could understand the orders of the owner and were protected by a special spell that prevented the riders from stealing them. Hence, the Pegasus taxi owner didn't need to travel with who hired it, but simply sit in his office and let the Pegasus finish its route and come back. However, if the riders had no experience flying on Pegasus, the Pegasus owner would provide one with experience, but that would cost additional cost. Since Gaia had the experience, Michael didn't pay this cost but let her fly the Pegasus. You can't. If you want one, you have to get permission from the 4 kings of Elon continent. Seriously? What? I don't know, it has been a common law of Elon since forever. Fuck them. I'm planning to make a dragon my pet and fly on it. Ever since he found out that this world has dragons, he couldn't wait to get his hands on a dragon baby or a grown dragon. Make a dragon your pet? You're one crazy motherfucker, you know that. Gaia shouted, and now she had grown quite familiar with his grand ideas and plans. He would have bought one from the system if the price wasn't in the millions. We're going to land, hold tight. She giggled evilly as the warning beep sound in his mind went crazy. She galloped the Pegasus and turned the Pegasus to do a barrel roll in the mid-air. Michael's reflexes were outstanding, therefore when the moment the warning sound rang in his head, he wrapped his hands around her waists and held onto her tightly. Bastard. Get your hands off of me. She didn't expect him to act quickly or wrapped his hand around her waist. She wanted to scare him off, but the situation turned against her favor. Do it again. He already enjoyed the ride tremendously, but the last part of him touching her waist was icing on the cake. On the contrary to his demand, she stopped barrel rolling and landed the Pegasus on the ground. You perverted bastard. The moment her feet touched the ground, she shouted at him as he waved her off. What did you expect? Me falling down from the sky? Just be glad that held onto your waist. She quickly covered her chest like she was naked when she looked at where he was looking at. Meh. The Pegasus beside them neighed and took off, leaving them behind at the outskirts of the marketplace, erected on the light side of Bredia. Bradford was a town led by Baron Totonk. This town wasn't built by a mountain by accident, as it has ancestral grounds, which was of great importance to the people of Bradford and its success. The town itself looked imposing. With its spruce wood rooftops, limestone walls and silent mountain range, Bradford had a pleasing atmosphere. Bradford had a booming economy, which was mainly supported by mining, baking and wine brewing. But their biggest strengths was the reason for Michael to be here, alchemy. Despite its strengths and weaknesses, Bradford was most likely headed towards a gracious future under the leadership of Baron Totonk. But this remains to be seen. Despite their rough landing, people didn't pay mind to Gaia and Michael as they continued to do what they were doing. Compared to the river town, the people around Michael seemed healthy and clean. Most ladies wore at least one jewel on their body, and occasionally, he could see ladies who had armed escorts, lavish jewels and wore fancy robes. These must be noble ladies. The noble ladies slightly looked like Roman noble ladies in the Spartacus television show he watched on Earth. Obviously, Michael took a few peaceful minutes to enjoy the hot ladies and girls on the streets, which frustrated Gaia as he never looked at her like he's staring at these noble ladies now. Shall we move now? Or do you need another hour to finish eye-banging them? She pitched his ears and interrupted his eyes from feasting on the beauties. Through the bustling streets of Bradford, both of them passed many food stalls, bakeries and various other stores. For a second he felt like he was back in the streets of Los Angeles, back on Earth. Wow, there are only 2 alchemy stores. After finishing checking out all the stores on both sides of the street, Michael realized that Bradford only has 2 alchemy stores owned by 2- and 1-star alchemists. Of course, the shopkeeper in those stores weren't alchemists but just salespersons. Hey look, this building is on sale. He and Gaia came before a newly built building next to a bakery and jewelry. The building had 2 floors and huge glass windows that almost made the inside of the building transparent. Good condition and location. Because of the jewelry, we can draw the attention of nobles quickly. Come, let's go see the owner of the building. Hey, is that Ghost? Yeah, it seems like him. Who's that girl with him? Can we get an autograph? Seeing that Michael had stopped, some of the people in the crowd recognized him. The people who had seen him stopped and kept watching him from afar. He entered the door and saw a bald-headed man wearing golden robes sitting in the rather empty building. He was meditating, and hearing the footsteps, he opened his eyes. How can I help you too? I saw the sign outside. I'd like to buy this building. State your price. The man stood up and rubbed his shaved chin for a second. Young man, my price is not cheap. Forgive me for being blunt, but you or your friend here don't seem very rich to me. Since Gaia said that at most, a building would cost 25,000 gold coins, therefore he didn't have to worry about the cost as he had 30,000 gold coins plus 10,000 gold coins he got from Heart Space Ring. Alright, 20,000 gold coins, non-negotiable. Michael looked at Gaia as she gave a nod of approval, indicating he's not ripping them off. The shopkeeper had built this store using most of his savings to open a gem business. But his son became a father and his wife was urging him to leave Bredia to go live with his son. Therefore he decided to sell this building, and because he used most of his savings he wanted to get most of his coins back, hence he stated a high price which left him with no buyers. However, Gaia knew a 5-star alchemist would earn 20,000 gold coins with a couple of pills, so she had no problem buying this place. He'll take it. Michael nodded and ordered the system to stack 20,000 gold coins in front of him. He gave the gold coins to the shopkeeper, who was quite surprised, but he quickly took the coins into his space ring. The shopkeeper then gave him a contract, and in a few seconds the deal was done. Now we have a building, let's go shopping for the pill ingredients. Chapter 48. Successfully buying the building to set up their alchemy business, Michael and Gaia once again took on a stroll through Bradford. Bradford was a huge, flourishing city. As Gaia led him throughout the city, they came across several thriving streets of Bradford. Then the two finally came to a stop right in front of a massive building with the words, Green Heaven, written in elegant calligraphy. Human, this is the biggest treasure store in Bradford. If you want anything rare or valuable, you can find it here. Also, they have the biggest collection of everything we need to set up our business. He noticed that she uses the word we more often and begins to be a team player. Let's go inside then. Within Green Heaven, many richly dressed men were walking around along with several sturdy-looking guards that were all looking with an attentive gaze at the merchandise around them. Look at that, idiots looking for fancy items to add to their collections. What's the point of spending millions of gold for a single painting? She said, glaring at the group of people who were checking out a fancy painting. He agreed with her in his mind, as he too had the same thought when he saw people spend millions on French paintings or weird statues. He only spent his money on mansions, guns, and video games that had a practical use. I miss my Xbox, PlayStation, and my PC, he sighed inside and continued to follow Gaia. The first floor is mainly for useless things, for rich good-for-nothings. Afterward, Michael and Gaia climbed up to the second story. As Michael approached the second floor, 2 soldiers in full metal plate armor blocked his path to the stairway. One of them looked at Michael before speaking out politely. My lord, my lady, show us your way of payment before entering. Human, take out the gold coins, she whispered to him and said to the guards. We don't use pay cubes, we deal with cold hard coins. Michael retrieved the remaining gold coins and stacked them before the guards. Can we go inside now? Gaia said. Of course, please enter, my lord, my lady. The 2 men instantly gestured for him to go past them. Pay cubes were a way of storing and saving money. Within the Elon continent, the color of the pay cube also signified one's wealth. It was a symbol of status that was a requirement for entering some businesses. Fortunately, Abras Memories had some knowledge about the pay cube, so he was not entirely clueless. Where do I get a pay cube? After entering through the door, he quickly asked Gaia. Of course you don't know, you can't get a pay cube whenever you want, you need to have at least 100,000 gold coins in your pocket. And then you can get one from a Grand Spire Bank branch. Remind me to get one. I'm not your notebook, you know. She rolled her eyes, but he knew she would do that. Throughout the entire floor, there were many strange and bizarre plants and items on display, ranging from many different colored flowers to strange lumps of iron. There were even many animal parts and organs in glass bottles. Among the items there was a small pile of iron sand. The iron sand was darkly colored and exuded a constant black flame. Nothing for fuel but the air around it. The fire burned constantly without ever being extinguished. Aside from that, there were a few other strange crystals that glowed brightly, along with a few ancient-looking alchemy furnaces. In short, there were many fantastical things to be seen, some from the past, and many weren't ordinary-looking things at all. The second floor of the Green Heaven didn't have as many people as the first floor. There were only 20 expensively dressed men that casually walked around and selected an item that caught their interest. Stop gawking around, human, you're embarrassing me. Of course he gawked around as a child entered a museum for the first time. Every time he thought that this world couldn't surprise him anymore, new things would do just that. In his previous time, he had to avoid going to public places in his free time as there was a risk of exposing himself. Even though none had seen his real face, he preferred better to be safe than sorry. So places like these brought the child inside him. Gaia exaggerated things by saying he's embarrassing her, but in truth, she liked messing with him. She dragged him to the counter herself after he had taken too long gawking around. Right in front of them on a counter were countless bizarre-looking plants, items, and crystals. He already decided what kind of pills and potions he's going to make and everything he needed in his mind. Calling over the manager of the second floor, he placed a list on the counter. I need everything in this list. The manager was a white-haired elder. Although he was quite old, both of his eyes shined brightly as if both pupils were a shining star. The manager looked at the list and then him as if to size him up before speaking with a small smile. My lord, the items in this list, are you an apprentice of an alchemist? Gaia became irritated about the old manager's inquiry as she was about to open her mouth for a snooty reply. Michael kicked her leg. Ouch, something like that, Manager T. We have everything on the list, my lord, but the total price will be rather high. Manager T took a few seconds to do the math and said, how much? 6,000. Place as big as this and popular as this wouldn't swindle a customer like roadside stores. Therefore, even though Gaia wasn't completely certain about the price of the items in the list, she nodded when he looked at her. Besides, she knew that the prices are fixed and no point in negotiating. He'll take it. Stop following me. You're irritating me to death. He was about to take the gold coins when he heard a girl shouting. He momentarily stopped and turned back to see a few people entering the floor. He counted 10 bodyguards who adorned silver Kevlar-like armor and held spears in their hands. They seemed to be following a young woman who shouted a moment ago at the young man who was trying to persuade her while following her. The girl seemed to belong to a wealthy family. Both Gaia and him looked at the young girl. She was good-looking and suddenly, The angry girl's eyes fell on Michael as he was in the midst of staring at her. She shouted, "You lecher. What are you looking at?" Michael was taken back by surprise as the young girl had decided to take out her anger on him. Although the girl seemed to be at body refining stage 3, the guards around her were at body strengthening stage 2 and 3, which indicated the mighty background of this haughty girl. Hence, he decided to ignore her rather than say something that could bring unnecessary trouble. "What is with me and angry girls?" He ignored the girl and turned his gaze at the manager back. Gaia, on the other hand, looked at the girl from top to bottom, and when she noticed the symbol the guards had on their chests, she quickly turned around. But when the young girl noticed him ignoring her without showing any emotions, she became more enraged and shouted at him, "You rascal, no point of turning your head now, I saw you gawking at me, haven't you seen a beautiful girl before?" It was true that he was an assassin and always preferred to avoid as many troubles as possible, but now, the girl crossed the line. If he didn't say anything now, he wouldn't be a badass, would he? "Excuse me," Gaia knew very well that he has two sides of him. One side of him was the funny cool calm side and the other was the evil cruel killer side. Now she could tell the other side of him sticking its head out. "I never gawked at you, I just heard you shouting and turned my head like everyone else in this room," he said, and then pointed his finger at the youngster who was following her in the first place. "If you have one guy following you, it doesn't mean you are the Miss World and everyone is courting you." When he finished replying to the girl, everyone was dumbfounded, especially Manager T and the bodyguards. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1000 badass points. That you're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.